Hearing this, Subai couldn't help but shake his head inwardly, feeling that it sounded a bit unreliable. What if a few bandits really showed up and harmed someone? Even if there was insurance, it wouldn't help him directly. Noticing the change in Subai's expression, the driver laughed heartily, patting his shoulder. Young man, you look scared. Don't worry, nothing will happen. But just as he finished laughing, several arrows shot through the air, and in the next moment, they were all embedded in the driver's chest. The driver suddenly rolled his eyes and fell from the front seat. The few land cattle he summoned quickly rebelled, stopping in their tracks and snorting loudly. Before Subai could figure out what was happening, over 100 dwarves armed with crossbows and swords emerged from the woods on both sides of the road. These dwarves were only about 1.5 meters tall, but their muscular build and robust figures gave them a powerful presence, creating a striking contrast. Behind the dwarves, 6 or 7 men emerged from the trees, wielding large machetes. The leader, wearing an eye patch, clearly had lost one eye. Damn it! Everyone get off the vehicle. Did you hear me? I can kill without blinking. 3 ox carts came to a halt. Everyone leaned out of the windows, and upon seeing the armed figures outside, they immediately realized they were being robbed. One person kicked a dwarf who was trying to board the vehicle and jumped down. With your kind of scum, you think you can rob us? What are you? Some kind of humanoids? Such weak soldiers. Who gave you the courage? Was it someone like Liang Jingru? Subai looked outside and saw the young man who had previously eaten the pickled vegetable noodles, his gaze sharp. Without fear of the robbers, he shouted, "Come out! Swamp giant frog! Swallow all these dwarfs!" A series of blue lights flashed from his chest, and several frogs the size of calves stood in front of him. The people in the vehicle felt instantly reassured. One person recognized him as an undercover police officer responsible for vehicle security. No wonder he had such knowledge during their previous conversation. Incredible. The mouth of the swamp giant frog was so large, those little dwarves were practically offering themselves as food. One gulp at a time. It seemed the robbers had chosen the wrong day. However, the leader of the robbers, the one-eyed man, sneered. "You can swallow, huh? Let us see how well you do." The undercover officer commanded the swamp giant frog to open its massive mouth, and a long, sticky tongue shot out. In an instant, 7 or 8 dwarves were swallowed whole. But less than a minute later, the back of the swamp giant frog began to bulge, and a bloody hole appeared. 2 hands frantically tore at the wound, and with a loud rip, the frog's body split open. A blood-soaked dwarf emerged from within. Everyone was stunned. They had not expected such strength from the small creature. The next moment, the undercover officer was knocked to the ground. The one-eyed leader stepped forward, raising his machete, ready to incapacitate the officer. Just then, winged dragon warrior women flew out of the vehicle. The dragon warrior wielded dual swords, gliding lightly over the ground. In an instant, several dwarf warriors lost their lives. Su Xiaoya stood by the door of the vehicle. The Cyclops hurriedly retreated, allowing the dwarves behind him to retaliate with their crossbows. He looked at Su Xiaoya. "You must be Su Xiaoya. Do you know me? Where's Subai?" "Subai? You're not hired assassins sent by the young master Zhao Haoyan, are you?" Su Xiaoya, quick-witted and sharp-minded, deduced from his inquiry about Subai that she understood the situation. "Hey, little girl. Quite clever, huh? Now tell me where he is, or you'll regret it. Since you've admitted it, it seems you intend to kill here to silence me. Don't blame me for being rude." The dragon warriors in the sky continued to harvest the lives of the dwarves. There was no choice. Talent suppression. The dwarves, with their short reach, could only retaliate with crossbows, but sadly could not break through the defenses. The Cyclops and his companions were at their wits' end. Today, they had encountered tough opposition. Damn it, capture that girl. I refuse to believe she is stronger than her soldiers. With the order from their leader, the subordinates surged forward, claws outstretched towards Su Xiaoya. This startled Su Xiaoya as well. While her soldiers were indeed powerful, her own strength was not as formidable as Subai's. If these thugs caught her, everything would be over. Just at that critical moment, a tank appeared out of nowhere. Dirt flew up from the roadside, and the tracks hummed loudly. In an instant, 4 or 5 small dwarf warriors were crushed beneath it. Those who were about to grab Su Xiaoya were also knocked back. The tank turret turned, aiming at the Cyclops. Subai stood on top of the tank, looking at him with a smile. Which fool was going to find Grandpa just now? I am Subai. The Cyclope's mouth twitched. The troops summoned by this guy seemed to have high defense. Damn it, that rascal Haoming didn't he mention this to him? He only told him to be cautious of Subai's long-range attacking humans. Charge. Use your brute strength. Smash this iron turtle in front of you. At this point, he shouted, ordering the dwarves to attack with all their might. The dwarves surged forward, using their mining strength from the underground city to strike wildly at the rhino tank, creating a clanging sound. Subai laughed. The 3-inch nails of the dwarves were practically experience points for him. The rhino tank roared to life, its tracks spinning once more. Dirt flew everywhere. The front of the vehicle suddenly lifted, followed by a series of jolts. In an instant, another 7 or 8 dwarves were turned into experience, crushed beneath the tank into a pulp. A series of numbers echoed continuously. So exhilarating. The one-eyed dragon sensed danger and took a deep breath, summoning over 200 dwarf warriors. This guy, back when Zhao Haoming was a real estate tycoon, saw potential in him. It was this very trait. Although his troops weren't remarkable, he had a vast amount of energy. He could summon many soldiers in one go. The numbers had already reached over 100, even in a prestigious academy. He could participate in a 100-man battle. Therefore, Zhao Haoyan appointed him as the leader of the demolition team, achieving great success. Plus, the little dwarves he summoned were small but incredibly strong, wielding large hammers to smash things. Some households were still asleep at home when this group of dwarves demolished their houses, causing fatalities. Afterwards, Zhao Haoming would simply pay some compensation to settle the matter. This method was undeniably effective. Until today, watching Su Bai sit atop the rhino tank and observing the blood-soaked soil and bones being churned up by the tank treads, he felt fear. Someone with such power, once at the prestigious institution, it would not be surprising if he was directly given a sergeant rank instead of starting as a private. The summoned dwarf warriors rushed forward to their demise, while he and his little brothers kept retreating. They even lost a shoe in their escape. Su Bai shot out 2 beams of white light from his chest. 2 more rhino tanks were summoned. The 3 tanks ran over the group of dwarves, gaining experience 3 times over. The ground had completely turned into a muddy red from the blood, and some passengers in the vehicles were so horrified by the scene that they vomited. It was utterly gruesome. Meanwhile, the one-eyed dragon had already sprinted 500 meters away like a rabbit. In his attempt to escape, the cannon of the rhino tank turned and fired with a loud bang. A shell spiraled out of the barrel. In the distance, trees fell and dirt flew. The one-eyed dragon was lucky not to be hit, but he was still caught in the explosion's shockwave, thrown back and losing consciousness. His 2 little brothers were also blown away but remained somewhat aware. The 2 dragged their incapacitated companion and fled. At this moment, 2 rhino tanks charged in from the side, blocking their path directly, with the cannons aimed at them. After witnessing the power of this armored beast, the 2 were instantly terrified and froze in place. Su Bai, accompanied by several mobilized soldiers, arrived from behind. Money, 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 money. As soon as they arrived, the 2 immediately pulled out all their cash from their storage rings. There are several bricks in size, seemingly over 60,000. I didn't expect these 2 to be so cooperative. My armored vehicle consumes a lot of fuel. Is this amount enough to cover the costs? Big brother, in this remote area, who carries so much cash with them? It would be better to let us go, and I can transfer a few million to you later. Su Bai sneered, are you kidding me? Letting you go? How would I find you again? He took another look at the 2 men and ordered his subordinates to confiscate their belongings. The 2 gold chains around their necks were taken off, and the gold rings on their fingers were also yanked away. The gold earrings were pulled down as well, causing them to grimace in pain. Is that it? It can't be all, one of them said, clutching their stomach after receiving a couple of punches. The pain made them suck in their bellies, revealing a luxurious belt. Big brother, please, let us keep some dignity. One pleaded. In response, they ended up with a mouthful of missing teeth. It's not that I'm heartless, but all your teeth are gold, Su Bai said, and the 2 men were in tears. Originally, they had pretended to be bandits, robbing and killing in the wilderness. But this time they had truly encountered real bandits. The Su Bai in front of them had none of the qualities of a scholar. He was clearly a ruthless outlaw. All right, dig a pit, he commanded. No, please. The sound of slaps echoed as they obediently dug a large pit. Big brother, are you going to bury us to take revenge for your fallen comrade? Not necessary, replied one of the armed men, pushing them into the pit with an AK. They were forced to jump down, and then dirt was shoveled over them. As for the mastermind, he should be quite wealthy. It would be a pity not to extract any money from him before killing him. Just as Su Bai was thinking of having the armed men wake him up, a limping officer approached from behind. They got away. Did they all escape? The officer asked. 2 got away, but there's still this one left. Just in time. The officer arrived. Su Bai didn't want to act against them in front of the police. As for the 2 so-called little brothers who ran away, they had indeed fled. But only to meet their end. Chapter 30, My New Car. Regarding moral coercion, Su Bai responded with a cold splash of water. The one-eyed dragon was now awake, his hands and feet bound tightly, unable to move. What is your name? Su Bai asked, placing a foot on his chest. The one-eyed dragon blinked for a long while before finally reacting. Feng Biao, please don't hit me. I'll tell you everything. It turned out that Zhao Haoyan's father, Zhao Haoming, wanted revenge for his son, instructing his demolition team leader to ambush Su Bai on the way. Afterwards, a reward of 8 million was offered to Feng Biao. Zhao Haoming, it seems that the Zhao family is still thinking about me. Upon hearing this, Su Bai had the urge to return home immediately and wipe out the Zhao family. But then he thought, that's not realistic. He was in a society governed by the rule of law, not some fantasy world where one could simply destroy a sect in a fit of rage. Everything had to follow the law. So, Su Bai took out his phone and called Chi Tiantian. hoping she would report this matter to Director Chi and bring Zhao Haoming to justice for hiring someone to commit murder. Are you okay, Brother Bai? Chi Tian asked with concern. However, the volume on the phone was too loud, causing Su Xiaoya, who was nearby, to overhear. Don't worry, your Brother Bai has my protection. Not a hair on him will be harmed. Su Xiaoya felt a bit jealous, but Su Bai pretended not to hear. Okay, I understand, don't worry. Everyone regrouped. The injured plainclothes police officer had his wounds bandaged. One driver had died, leaving only 2 carts in good condition. Some people were already scared out of their wits and expressed a desire to return to the city immediately. After some discussion, everyone squeezed into one vehicle, while the police detained Feng Biao and his group in the other vehicle. However, Su Xiaoya disagreed. With all this back and forth, we might be late for school. Please, fellow travelers, my brother and I are students heading to the city for registration. If we're late, we might face consequences. We hope those willing to go can help us out. Thank you. Su Xiaoya bowed to everyone. What a joke. I don't want to keep going forward. What if we encounter more bandits? How many lives can we risk? Yeah, you 2 students still have the nerve to speak. It seems these bandits were after you. Now we have to suffer. If it weren't for you dealing with these people, I'd definitely sue you for emotional distress and loss of income. Sue. They should compensate for emotional distress and loss of income right now. Yes, each person should pay 10,000, and we'll consider it settled. Otherwise, when we get to the city, I'll make a scene at your school. Exactly, pay up. Quickly pay. The crowd surrounded Su Xiaoya, who felt a bit at a loss. After all, they were not vicious criminals or monsters from a game. She couldn't just use her abilities to drive them away. At that moment, Su Bai patted Su Xiaoya on the shoulder. It's okay, if they want to go back, let them. You can ride with me. Your vehicle? Look. Su Bai pointed to an empty space, and a white light flashed in front of him. A vehicle worth 500 appeared there, a Soviet-style armored anti-air vehicle. The doors opened. A soldier saluted Su Bai. The armored personnel carrier is ready. Open the door, Su Bai ordered. The door of the personnel carrier opened, revealing 2 rows of seats lined along the sides, wrapped in leather, looking quite shock-absorbent. Su Bai said, let's follow the map and take this vehicle to the city. Don't worry, with tracks, it can handle any rough road. In this realm, human technology had only advanced to the level of automobiles, and firearms had yet to appear. The items summoned by Su Bai were simply of an advanced technological level. Su Xiaoya's eyes widened in surprise. She clapped her hands and suddenly, in a playful ambush, kissed Su Bai on the cheek. Brother Su Bai, why didn't you bring out something like this earlier? As she spoke, she playfully punched Su Bai's chest with her little fist. Su Bai rubbed Su Xiaoya's head, feeling quite pleased with himself. A wave of satisfaction rose in his heart. As Su Xiaoya got in, Su Bai was about to close the door when someone called out, Hey, young man, don't go yet. Can you give me a ride? Yes, I see there is plenty of space inside. At least 5 people can fit. 1 person is fine, a group is fine too. Let me hop in. That's right, haha. They say college students are polite and enjoy helping others. You should promote that spirit today. The few individuals who had just been seeking compensation from Su Xiaoya immediately changed their attitude, smiling without a hint of embarrassment over their previous remarks. They tried to squeeze into the vehicle. Su Bai thought to himself, wow, these people have thicker skin than a city wall, and they're quite eager to get on. So, Su Bai propped an arm at the door to block the 3. You all are quite eager. Weren't you just asking me for compensation? Now you want to get on? Hey, young man, do you still remember that? We were just joking. That's right, young people should be broad-minded. We were just talking. You can't take it seriously, can you? The group adamantly denied it. Su Bai chuckled. Getting on is fine, but there's a fare, 50,000 each. What? You're charging? Why can't I charge for my vehicle? Who told you that riding doesn't cost money? The 3 clenched their teeth, knowing that if it weren't for their urgent business in the city, they wouldn't be willing to pay this extra 50,000. After collecting the money, the 3 got onto the vehicle. Just as they were about to sit down, Su Bai said again, Aren't you going to put on shoe covers? This is a brand new vehicle I just bought, and there's a 20,000 hygiene fee per person. Upon hearing this, the 3 were at a loss for words. The interior was indeed muddy, but they had no choice. The area was remote, with only dirt roads that were uneven. If you don't pay, I'll make you get off. Su Bai glared. All right, we'll pay. The 3 of them were left speechless, each paying another 20,000. Just as they were about to sit down again, Su Bai said, Who told you to sit? You bought standing tickets. If you want to change to sitting tickets, you need to pay an extra 30,000. What the heck? Is this a continuous trick? Are you sure you're a university student and not a scheming merchant? This time, the 3 were genuinely angry. Fine. If we can't sit, we want to sit. We'll stand all the way. We want to sit on your bench for even a second. The tracked anti-aircraft vehicle started up, spewing black smoke as it rolled forward. The road was muddy, with several large potholes making it impossible for ordinary vehicles to navigate. Luckily, the tracks had excellent grip, allowing them to escape from those pits time and again. However, the three on board were dizzy from the rough ride, unable to stand steady. They even collided with each other several times. Less than an hour later, the three surrendered. University student. We will buy? We want seats. Sorry, the price has gone up. The seat fee is 100,000. Subai smiled and winked at Su Xiaoya, who also shared a knowing smile. What the heck? Isn't it okay if I pay? The three were on the verge of collapse, but ultimately complied and paid the money. Chapter 31. The Elite Academy of the Metropolis. I'm here. The son is recovering well. Naturally, with the best doctors in the provincial capital and a little incentive for the director, Hao Tian's health improved quickly with the nourishing medicine he was taking. Hao Tian had already been discharged from the hospital and was sitting on the sofa at home, looking gloomy. Meanwhile, Hao Ming and his wife were feeling a bit happier. Now that he was better, I'll have Uncle Yu, who specializes in flying troops, take you to the elite academy in the metropolis for a good study. Dad, I don't want to go. I heard Subai also applied to that school. Just thinking about him made me want to kill him. Hao Tian clenched his fists, his teeth grinding. But his mother smiled. Sweetheart, that Subai has already been dealt with by your father's demolition team. He won't be able to enroll in the school. Although you're not well now, our family is wealthy. Spending some money to find a few classmates to accompany you should ensure you graduate smoothly. After all, we are a prominent family in the city, and your low education level would be a loss of face for your father. Suddenly, Hao Tian's eyes lit up, and he incredulously asked, Mom, are you saying Subai has already been killed? Of course, in the provincial capital, no one dares to offend our Zhao family, not to mention a martial arts champion. Even the mayor has to be respectful towards us. Provincial Public Security Department. Director Qi discovered important information through wiretapping. Hao Ming and his wife admitted to hiring a hitman. In the conference room, the criminal police of the Provincial Public Security Bureau did not dare to breathe too loudly. The current operation was simply too significant, involving a real estate tycoon from the city. Without solid evidence, arresting him would lead to immense pressure. Therefore, Director Qi, as the overall commander, was well aware of this principle. However, as the newly appointed director, he also understood the importance of making a strong impression in his new role. He was eager to implement reforms and was looking for opportunities to make an impact. As a result, Subai helped him catch a big fish. He had previously received numerous reports from the public regarding the aggressive actions of Zhao Haoming's real estate group. These incidents combined could easily justify Zhao Haoming's arrest as a typical case. In Handong province, the law is above everything. Director Qi turned off the projector at the meeting and waved his hand. It was time to act. Dozens of police cars sped to surround Zhao Haoming's group headquarters and his various luxury residences, executing the operation. Ultimately, Zhao Haoming and his wife were detained, awaiting legal judgment. Of course, Subai only learned about these events when he arrived in the metropolis and saw the news. The reports stated that all of Zhao's assets had been seized, and the once mighty Zhao family crumbled overnight. Upon entering the metropolis, Subai was dazzled by the skyline of towering buildings. He had thought the conditions in the provincial capital of Handong were already excellent, but he never expected the metropolis to be so prosperous. It truly deserved its reputation as the economic center of the nation, with an inherent charm. Standing at the mouth of the vast river flowing into the sea, Subai felt a surge of pride. He had indeed chosen the right school. This place would become his foothold, and he was ready to make his mark in this broad and promising world. Metropolis. Here I come, he thought. Click. Behind him, Su Xiaoya smiled and took a photo of Subai. Brother Subai, your pose looks so cool. Let us take another picture together. Subai felt a bit embarrassed about showing off earlier. Su Xiaoya leaned in close, and the two squeezed together for a commemorative photo. Afterward, they didn't linger long and took a taxi to report to the prestigious university in the metropolis. After checking in, a teacher led Subai and the other new students to the dormitory, introducing the school as they walked. Our school follows a social Darwinism approach. Survival of the fittest. The strong will receive more resources, while the weak will be gradually eliminated. There are still 10 days until classes begin, and your scores have been recorded and ranked by the teachers. However, these scores are not definitive, as conditions vary from province to province. Therefore, these rankings are subject to change. The way to change them is by challenging your classmates who are ranked just above you. During these 10 days, you can challenge those within 10 ranks of you, once a day. Of course, challengers cannot refuse the first challenge of the day. Once the school officially starts, the list and rankings will be more accurate. The school will distribute scholarships weekly based on these rankings. These scholarships can be used to purchase powerful equipment in the market, enhance abilities, and help you better conquer instances, making you stronger. You may even represent the school in national competitions or even higher-level global contests. Together, you will strive to tackle the world's most challenging instances, bring peace to the realm, and stand proud above all. The teacher's words stirred the students' hearts. each imagining themselves as a heroic figure in battle. The students were filled with fighting spirit, and the teacher continued. However, our school has exams every semester, and those who do not meet the minimum standards will be expelled immediately, so you need to think carefully. This is not an ordinary school where you can just pass 3 years with laughter. We train commanders who are like devils before graduation. You are our students and must undergo hellish training, which may even lead to disabilities or death. Of course, the school will not be responsible for any disabilities or deaths. Therefore, any student who wishes to withdraw can come to the school office to submit an application, and we will agree without question. Hearing such a brutal educational philosophy, some students who were previously full of ambition couldn't help but swallow hard. They began to discuss among themselves. Subai, however, was indifferent. He just disliked the idea of living in the dormitory. He originally wanted to rent an apartment off campus with Su Xiaoya so they could relax together after classes. However, Su Xiaoya refused, telling Subai that the prestigious academy in the city does not allow students to live off campus. It is entirely a boarding school with strict regulations. Subai had no choice but to give up that idea. Subai was assigned to a dormitory and, upon opening the door, found a spacious living room inside. It was furnished with tables, chairs, a coffee table, and a sofa. On either side were 2 bedrooms, meaning each person had their own private room. The bedrooms were also very clean, with new pillowcases and bed linens. A small pot of fresh flowers was placed by the window, giving a warm and comfortable feeling. It was no wonder that this prestigious academy had such high standards even for student dormitories. Previously, when Subai attended school in the provincial capital, the dormitory was a large space with several bunk beds, overcrowded and cramped, filled with the smell of feet and smoke. That's why he always chose to live at home. At that moment, the living room door was pushed open again, and 2 young students walked in, just like him. Chapter 32. Money makes me progress. Money makes me happy. 5 million. Hand it over. Subai pushed open the door and saw 2 boys enter, one of whom was being supported by the other. The boy being supported was flushed all over, with his clothes showing signs of being burned, looking quite disheveled. Don't just stand there. Hurry and get the burn ointment from the first aid kit, said a classmate. Subai nodded and immediately started searching through the dormitory's first aid kit. He took out a tube of ointment and began applying it to the injured classmate's wounds. This feels cool and refreshing. Thanks, buddy. This burn ointment works really well. What brand is it? The ointment was held up as Subai glanced at it and replied. It's from a certain brand. Anyway, thanks. I'm Wang Xiaohu, and this is Qin Xiao, Wang Xiaohu said casually, not dwelling on what had just happened. Subai then asked, what exactly happened to you? You're all red, like a crab being boiled. Qin Xiao explained. Wang Xiaohu was competing for a ranking, challenging someone for the 113th place, and ended up getting hit by that opponent's fireball. Subai was somewhat surprised. It was indeed a renowned, prestigious institution. Those who got into this school were top scorers from various regions, and even those ranked outside the top 100 had the ability to cast spells. Wang Xiaohu was a bit dissatisfied, saying, if I had your Ice Age Mammoth, with its frost armor, that guy ranked 113 wouldn't stand a chance against me. This was referring to Qin Xiao. Qin Xiao added, you're Subai, right? What's your unit? Based on the information I've gathered, your unit and attributes don't meet the school's standards, yet you've managed to get into such a top-tier university. The teachers are all talking about it. Want to know my info? Let me reintroduce myself. I'm Qin Xiao, ranked 99, and I use the Ice Age Mammoth. Actually, I'm a scholar. A scholar? The other party took out a book and handed it to Subai. Subai took it and saw the title Complete Compendium of Awakening Units on the cover, with a suggested retail price of 2,300 on the back. There wasn't anything particularly noteworthy on the front, but the price on the back was outrageous. Most books usually cost around 10 to 20. Who would buy it for 2,300? Qin Xiao explained, this is my book. My hobby is to collect different awakening units from around the world and compile them into a book. Who knows, I might leave a mark in history someday. This book is way too expensive. Who would buy it? Subai asked. Qin Xiao replied, my clients are university professors and educators from higher institutions. Although 2,300 is pricey, those who can afford such books are usually funded by their schools. Subai was taken aback. He didn't expect to be living with a young scholar in the same dormitory, since the other party had voluntarily shared his unit and school ranking. Subai also confidently stated, I don't know my ranking yet. I'll check it later. My unit is a human, specifically a human who can drive. The 3 continued chatting for a while, and then Subai left the dormitory to head to the announcement board in front of the school. There, a row of small computers was set up. By entering the student's ID, one can check the current ranking of the student and the weekly rewards issued by the school. Name, Subai, student ID, 12882231, grade, 1st grade, ranking, 251, reward, none. After Subai entered his ID, all the information popped up. To be honest, a ranking of 251 is really too low. Currently, there are a total of 300 ranked students in the 1st grade. as the top scholar from Handong province. It's surprising to be ranked so low. He thought to himself that perhaps he wasted time watching the subtitles of others on the display screen during the exam scenario. This led to the lower ranking. In reality, Su Bai was still unaware that the current school ranking was based on exam scores, personal attributes, and combat unit strength. Due to Su Bai's poor attributes and the fact that his unit was human, he naturally ended up with a lower ranking, with a ranking of 251. According to the school's elimination system, if he couldn't improve, he might be forced to drop out before the semester ended. Thinking of this, Su Bai decided to find Director Kai to ask for the 5 million scholarship. After all, converting that money into gold could enhance the quantity and quality of his combat units. Arriving at the academic building, just as he was about to knock on the door, he saw Director Kai rushing out in a hurry. Director Kai, do you have urgent business? Su Bai? You're here just in time. Let us go to Chessboard Mountain together. There's a heavyweight ranking match happening there. Chessboard Mountain is a mountain area designated by the school, serving as a large-scale combat training ground. Generally, heavyweight competitions within the school take place there. A ranking match? That's right. The current third-ranked Huyanju is challenging the first-ranked Nangong Chui Shui. This is not to be missed. Both of their combat units are extraordinarily rare. For instance, Huyanju's unit is a Bogula vampire, which naturally comes with wings and can fly. In close combat, it can drain life, often resulting in the complete demise of the opponent's forces without losing any of its own. The first-ranked Nangong Chui Shui is even more formidable. His unit is a chimera with a lion's head, eagle's body, and python's tail. The lion's head can breathe fire, the eagle's body can fly, and the python's tail can release toxic gas. One could say that his ordinary combat unit is equivalent to some awakened heroes, equipped with multiple skills. Aren't you excited for this battle? To be honest, hearing about the strength of those ranked higher, Su Bai felt no anticipation at all. He was only focused on getting the 5 million as quickly as possible to enhance his own strength. By then, whether it was a vampire or a chimera, they would all fall beneath his iron tide. Director Kai, I want to be watching the battle. I'm here to collect the 5 million scholarship you prepared for me. Haven't I already completed my registration? Director Kai was somewhat speechless. How could Su Bai lack any ambition? Has he fallen into the trap of money? I see. You really want to go with me? Understanding the strength of your opponent can also enhance your own strategies and lead to personal growth. Director Kai, money helps me progress. Really, the more you say, the more anxious I am about getting money. This statement made Director Kai increasingly unhappy. He had seen a type of student who was top-notch in exams, but received a scholarship and then immediately decided to drop out, only to retake the exams the following year and win another scholarship. Could it be that Su Bai is such a student? Su Bai? I tell you, once you drop out of our school, regardless of how well you do when you return, you will not be readmitted. So think carefully. Don't worry. How could I drop out? Just quickly give me the money. Faced with Su Bai's shameless insistence on money, Director Kai reluctantly transferred 5 million into Su Bai's account. He then reminded him twice more to spend it wisely, as the road ahead is still long. As long as he studies well and contributes to the country in the future, this 5 million is just a small amount. He meant to say not to think of taking any crooked paths. Chapter 33, Secluded Training, continue to produce rhino tanks. Su Bai's strength further enhances. 10 days passed in the blink of an eye. During this time, Su Bai didn't go anywhere. He sat in his dormitory every day, utilizing the gold bought with the 5 million for true production. Although it only took a minute to produce a good brother mobilization unit, due to his own reasons, the production had become very slow. It also consumed a lot of his energy. Rhino tanks ready. At that moment, the system's voice echoed in Su Bai's ears. 10 rhino tanks had been produced. He exhaled a breath of stale air. The last bit of gold had been completely consumed. The 5 million was thus easily squandered. He finally understood what it meant to spend money like water. Life without money was extremely difficult. 10 tanks lined up in a row, with the mobilization units following behind. This could form a combined arms operation. However, the only drawback now was their weak air defense capability, with only one anti-air tracked vehicle. He remembered that in the game, the Allied forces had Black Hawk helicopters, invader aircraft, and airborne troops. Without any anti-air units, facing these flying units, the ground buildings and weapons of the Soviet forces would be easy targets. Thus, air defense units were also very important. Earlier, Director Kai mentioned that Nangong Chui Shui and Huyanju possessed units capable of flight, not to mention the close combat. The opposing side might also fear the firepower of his mobilization units. But if the enemy doesn't engage directly and instead throws stones from the sky, then he would surely be at a loss. Next, he still needed to grind for money in the instance, but the school had not yet started. The copies in the school are all in a pause state and cannot be activated at all. During these 10 days, Su Bai spent his time practicing, with the only activities besides eating, sleeping, and reading being his training, silently accumulating troops in his heart. There was no form of entertainment available, living like a hermit. The only thing that provided some amusement for Su-bai was reading. While reading, he had the opportunity to fully understand the history of military confrontations in this world, as well as societal information. In fact, he had wanted to do this for a long time, but previously he simply didn't have the time or energy. After all, at that time, he was under pressure from his studies and the need to earn money, leaving no time to calmly read. In this world, there is a significant gap between commanders and ordinary people, and their statuses cannot be compared. For example, while reading now, the library of the prestigious academy in the capital has collections that ordinary people cannot access. Only commanders who have awakened their military types have the right to view these texts. This is a privilege of the commanders and also a protection for ordinary people. Such information is not accessible through regular newspapers or publications. Topics like troop deployment, military type combinations, and equipment selection are things that ordinary people will never encounter in their lifetime due to the reasons of instantiation and global awakening. Su-bai stretched lazily, picked up his lunchbox, and went to the cafeteria to get his meal. Currently, the number of troops in Su-bai's heart includes 72 mobilized troops, 10 Rhino tanks, 1 anti-aircraft tracked vehicle, and 1 armed mining vehicle. The base buildings in his heart include 1 Soviet base, 1 power plant, 1 or refinery, 1 Soviet barracks, 1 Soviet heavy industry factory, and 3 guard cannons. One drawback now is that there are no new flatlands in the Stone Sea for him to build a power plant. The current electricity supply is insufficient, causing production speed to slow down, which means he can only produce troops in the dormitory. What used to be produced in a day now takes a full 10 days. However, he feels that having so many troops is enough for him to establish a foothold in the school. On the second day, the school officially opened. All students gathered in the auditorium. The principal gave a speech, and everyone applauded. Students, our prestigious academy has a history of 100 years. Even when our country faced turmoil and invasion, the school continued to hold classes, nurturing many heroic officers. Times create heroes. Although the world is at peace now, scientists have analyzed that the world still teeters on the edge of danger. This is not just a personal war. On a larger scale, it is a war related to national fortune. The principal continued speaking on stage, and Su-bai was nearly falling asleep. The head kept nodding down. Chen Chao gently nudged Su-bai beside him and whispered, "Don't doze off. If the principal catches you, he might expel you on the spot." Su-bai frowned. The principal is too fierce, isn't he? There was no helping it. What he was talking about was the resistance war. And he was a graduate of this university who fought against the invaders back in the day. So he had to tell this story every year. Chen Chao then added quietly, "Your intel is quite good. You seem to know everything the principal is going to say." Su-bai chuckled. "Well, as someone selling textbooks, I definitely need to be informed about this. How about this? You share all your troop information with me, and I'll pay 500,000 for it." "Thanks, bro. But I'm not ready to sell my personal info just yet." In general, first-year students can choose from 3 types of instances. One is a simple instance with at least 50 troop types. Another is a 100-person troop instance, which requires a minimum of 100 troop types to enter, and the last one is a free public instance. There are no rules inside, and there are no restrictions on the number of troops. You can enter directly, and inside, you can PK each other for treasure or even kill, without any interference from the school. If anyone fails to meet the minimum requirements, they will have to go back to take liberal arts classes and engage in simulated battles to level up. However, time waits for no one, as this school operates on a last-in, first-out basis. Of the 300 students enrolled this semester, 20 will be eliminated after a month, 30 after 2 months, and only 200 will remain after 6 months. However, higher-ranked schools will invest heavily in cultivating the top students. So everyone, please work hard in the future. After the principal finished speaking, the applause was not as thunderous as when he first took the stage. The last-in, first-out system is indeed too cruel. Getting into this school doesn't guarantee graduation. One can only imagine the pressure on all the students in the auditorium. It was surprising how the seemingly gentle principal with black-framed glasses could speak so coldly. No wonder the teacher who helped Su-bai find a dormitory mentioned the social Darwinism that this school adheres to. Only the strong survive. The opening ceremony lasted for over 2 hours before concluding. Many people felt their legs numb from standing. Su-bai, Chen Chao, and Wang Xiaohu walked out of the auditorium. Su-bai asked, "Huzi, are you going into the public instance? An instance that everyone can enter and openly PK sounds quite exciting." "Forget it, Su-bai. I still think the single instance with 50 troop types is safer. Think about it. In a public PK, all resources would be monopolized by the strongest. Plus, we might run into students ranked in the top few. My injuries haven't fully healed, so I want to go." Chapter 34, The Law of the Jungle. Su-bai enters the public instance. Su-bai asked Chen Chao again. Chen Chao shook his head. "Sorry, Su-bai. The instance with 50 troop types really doesn't have much to offer. I am going to tackle the dungeon with 100 units. I suggest you do the same. The difficulty is there, and the experience and rewards will definitely be substantial. Plus, you won't have to worry about being schemed against. As for the public dungeon, while it appears that everyone can enter, it actually serves a different purpose. The weak will only be oppressed and exploited there, as this school follows a form of social Darwinism. Subai is aware of this, but unfortunately, he currently has fewer than 100 units combined, making it impossible for him to enter that dungeon. However, there is one thing Subai doesn't quite understand. Why is it said that newcomers will be exploited in the public dungeon? Didn't the principal mention that there's also a way to train using the equipment? Although the progress is slow, there is still improvement. So wouldn't it be fine for weaker individuals to train there instead of being exploited in the public dungeon? Chin Chao laughed. That's something the principal deliberately said to boost the confidence of less confident students. Relying solely on the equipment training will ultimately lead to elimination. That's why the principal mentioned dungeons of varying difficulties, to instill a strong sense of competition among everyone. Wow, this school really embodies social Darwinism. With the director's announcement, the 3 main dungeons officially opened for entry. At this point, many students had been waiting at the entrance for quite some time. Among these students, about 40 were aiming to enter the public dungeon. The remaining 40 were headed to the dungeon with around 50 participants. Only less than 20 were entering the dungeon with 100 participants. It was quite chaotic everywhere. Once we get in, let us form an alliance and bully the weaker ones, as defeating their units will also grant us experience. That's right. Our dorm can form a legion of over 100 people and will be unstoppable. Hehe. In the public dungeon, teams can be formed freely, and those with more members will have the advantage. Your idea is great. But what if a whole class forms a team? Wouldn't that render your dorm useless? Oh right, how did I not think of that? Stop overthinking it. The public dungeon is massive, and didn't you see the sign? After entering, you're randomly positioned, so it's not guaranteed who will be next to whom. Furthermore, if you encounter a strong opponent, they will see you as easy prey, and even if a classmate takes you out, it doesn't matter. The school has long prevented the possibility of forming teams. What they're cultivating are elite units. Wow, the school thought of everything. Subai stood at the entrance of the public dungeon, waiting to enter. At that moment, someone tapped him on the shoulder from behind. He turned around to find it was Su Xiaoya. Xiaoya? Brother Subai? Hee, you're here for the public dungeon too. Subai smiled and gently poked Su Xiaoya's nose. If you sneak attack me, you'll regret it once we enter the dungeon. Humph. If you bully me inside, I'll call my mom and have her give you a good scolding. Alright, call Annie. I was really scared of you. That's more like it. In this instance, we have to stick together, and you must take on the important task of protecting me. Su Xiaoya pouted playfully. Hey, we're starting to enter now. No whispering. A teacher in charge of order shouted. Su Xiaoya quickly covered her mouth and pouted. This instance has some special rules, and it's quite interesting. Every 50 people form a group. Once there are 50 people, the instance resets and welcomes the next batch of new students. Subai and Su Xiaoya lined up one behind the other and just managed to enter a group. Inside the instance, Subai found himself in a mountainous area. Since armored units had difficulty advancing in the mountains, he released all his mobilized troops to prepare to seize a hilltop for observation and defense. The neutral wild monsters in the mountains didn't seem particularly strong and couldn't inflict any effective damage on the mobilized troops. Therefore, the experience rewards for defeating them weren't much either. However, he didn't change his established strategy to occupy the advantageous terrain and attack from a high position. As soon as he reached the hilltop, he encountered another student who was accompanied by a group of Black Panthers, also trying to take this advantageous position. The opponent was momentarily stunned, then launched an attack. Their psychological quality was impressive. As soon as they engaged, Subai's side was immediately at a disadvantage. They were too close together for the mobilized troops to utilize the distance advantage of their AK-47s. In an instant, several were knocked down by the Black Panthers, with their throats bitten through, literally a one-hit kill. However, the mobilized troops on Subai's side were also capable of one-hit kills against the Black Panthers. But soon, the opposing commander changed their attack strategy, instructing the Black Panthers to spread out to avoid Subai's firepower suppression. This tactic proved effective. The scattered Black Panthers forced the mobilized troops' firepower to disperse. The Black Panthers moved swiftly, like a whirlwind, turning around to take down several mobilized troops. If it were a charge by a pack of beasts, they might not be a match for an army. But once they spread out, their power was not to be underestimated. This wave of beastly attacks caught Subai off guard. He was secretly astonished, realizing that there were indeed hidden talents in the school. Every student here was exceptional. They were all top students from across the country, each province's best. Haha, surrender. Let me devour your soldiers and turn them into experience points, and you can leave the instance. Don't resist anymore. The opponent taunted Subai. In the past, Subai might have given up, but now he had an anti-air tracked vehicle, allowing him to break through quickly. The opposing troops, though swift in action and high in attack power, moved like dark phantoms, making it hard for anyone to resist. Unfortunately, this army had a flaw. It lacked a proper formation and a meat shield. These beasts were full of gaps, much like a sieve. After getting into the anti-air tracked vehicle, Subai sped off with the remaining 4 mobilized soldiers, directly charging to the front of the opposing student. Next to this student stood only 2 Black Panthers for defense. However, under the firepower of Subai and the mobilized soldiers, the 2 Panthers quickly turned into experience points. Experience gained. 108. Experience gained. 108. Did you think that I was defenseless just because I was the commander? This student was agile and managed to dodge a burst of fire from the mobilized soldiers. He raised his fist to strike Subai. Huh. Subai let out a sound and extended his palm to catch the blow. Using his attack power of over 150 points to forcibly bend the opponent's fist to the ground. The pain made tears stream down the student's face. Chapter 35. Anti-air tracked vehicle upgrade. Subai defeats opponent and rises in rank. Ouch. 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 Classmate, is it really necessary to be so ruthless? We are from the same school. If you keep using that kind of strength, my arm is going to break. Subai laughed. You still know we're from the same school, yet you rushed in without greeting and started attacking. Just a moment ago, you boasted about wanting to take out all my soldiers. Why didn't you mention being classmates back then? Hey, isn't the school encouraging PK? Hurry up and let go. If my arm breaks, that would mean 100 days of recovery. Who knows, I might fall behind in my studies and get expelled. Which wouldn't be worth it? Let us talk this over nicely. The opponent pleaded for mercy. Subai was not someone who would make things difficult, so he said, all right, let us go with your earlier suggestion of surrender. Have your Black Panther troops stop their attacks and convert all to experience for me. The student, with no other choice, realized that if his arm really broke, he would be a half-disabled commander with weakened self-defense capabilities. This could lead to a drop in ranking and ultimately not keeping up with studies, risking expulsion. Thus, he had to agree. The Black Panthers were gathered together, standing by in place. Subai did not order his mobilized soldiers to fire, but instead commanded his anti-air tracked vehicle to attack the group of Black Panthers. This was because Subai wanted to see if the vehicle would upgrade and gain any additional skills upon reaching 1 star. The anti-air tracked vehicle was specifically designed for air defense, dealing high damage to aerial units, with splash damage as well. However, its downside was poor ground attack capabilities, causing little damage to personnel and vehicles. Anti-air shells hitting tanks felt like mere tickles, and it took considerable effort to deal with infantry. However, Subai currently feels that his land combat strength is still quite strong, but what he lacks is anti-air firepower. This is why he wants the anti-air tracked vehicle to eliminate the enemy's upgraded troops to increase its attack power, ensuring that he has no self-defense capability when facing aerial units. After half an hour, more than 30 Black Panthers were finally dealt with. The classmate in Subai's hands was dumbfounded, feeling extremely frustrated. Wow, I was too careless to let this guy get close. The human troops he summoned are really useless. Although their attack power is decent, they are as fragile as paper before my Black Panthers. That vehicle that ambushed me can't even deal fatal damage. Facing such a weak force, I was directly captured by someone else. Thinking about it makes my heart bleed. With the sound of a horn, Subai's anti-air tracked vehicle successfully leveled up to 1 star. I surrender. My soldier units have all been defeated by you. Can I leave now? Subai didn't make things difficult for the opponent and waved his hand. The person declared surrender and exited the instance. This is a special rule of this instance. When someone enters and declares surrender, if the opponent agrees, they will exit the instance after 1 minute. Of course, the school system will also record various reasons for this person's surrender. After this person left, Subai began to check the upgrades of his anti-air tracked vehicle. Anti-air tracked vehicle. Strength, 155. Agility, 4,510. Defense, 205. Health, 35,035. Special attribute. Anti-air damage increased by 300. Capacity for 8 passengers. These attributes are about what Subai expected. The price is cheaper than a Rhino tank, and naturally, the attributes are not as good. However, the agility is very high, which matches its rapid mobility. The increase in special attributes after the upgrade is the most significant. The original anti-air damage of the tracked vehicle was 200, which is double the normal attack. Now, after leveling up to 1 star, it has increased to 300, which is 3 times. The crew capacity has also increased from 5 to 8 people. This enhancement is quite noticeable. Using this tactic of shooting the rider before the horse, capturing the thief before capturing the king, the number of people involved in decapitation operations can increase even more. Imagine this. The enemy's firepower is strong. Yet Subai has a fleet of more than a dozen anti-air tracked vehicles filled with mobilized troops, suddenly charging in from the side. It's like a group of thugs with large knives jumping into a van to take down their leader directly, surrounding the enemy commander completely, winning the battle without a fight. After a short rest, he prepared to observe the terrain. At that moment, Subai received a message on his phone. Upon opening it, he found it was a text from the school, which surprised him greatly. Signal reception was impossible in the instance, unless the school had specialized equipment. Maintaining signal reception within an instance would be unfeasible. Coincidentally, the prestigious academy in the magical city possessed such equipment. Subai had learned about this in the library. The lightning signal tower relic was a hidden item discovered by a teacher from the academy during a global journey in one of the instances. When this relic stands in a certain location, it can receive any signal within a 50-kilometer radius, even inside an instance. This could be considered the first time humanity discovered a relic that allows signal reception within an instance. Initially, the teacher had to engage in significant exchanges to bring this relic out of another country. Therefore, this relic has always stood in the center of the school, serving as a postcard for the academy. There is only this one in the entire country. Upon reading the text, Subai saw it was from the school's official account. Congratulations, Subai! You have successfully challenged and defeated the student ranked 232, ID 152765655. Your ranking has now risen to 232. After entering the top 200, you will receive a treasure box reward from the school. Please keep up the good work. After reading this information, Subai's eyes widened. It was indeed a prestigious school. Just after defeating a student from the Black Panther Legion, the school sent out a notification of his ranking increase. The academy, in its effort to nurture extraordinary warriors, truly spared no effort. After resting, Subai stood atop a hill for a while to observe. He discovered an ancient building in the distance and led his troops toward it. While it was good to stay high on the hill for defense, if he didn't encounter other students or monsters to gain experience, entering this instance would be meaningless. Along the way, Subai did not encounter any other students. It seemed many were defending in place, exploring slowly, so the chances of crossing paths and engaging in battle were not high. Thus, he fought his way to the entrance of the building. Atop the building's walls stood many skeletal soldiers on guard. These skeletal soldiers utilized their archery skills to strike from a height. Moreover, they seemed to possess some magical abilities. Subai could see that the arrows shot by the skeletal soldiers were enveloped in flames, with some crackling with electricity, while others were coated in deep blue frost. Seeing this, Subai immediately ordered his troops to retreat. As expected of a high-level academy's instance, even the skeletal monsters were not the same as those found in regular instances. Chapter 36. The Rhino tanks unleash explosive firepower, turning monsters into ash before Subai's eyes, granting tons of experience. Subai uses the detection medal to check the attributes of these monsters. Magic Skeleton Archer, level, LV 15, Strength, 28, Agility, 18, Defense, 17, Health, 210, Special Attributes. Each attack, the Skeleton Archer randomly uses a magical arrow, dealing 25 damage to the enemy target and randomly inflicting burning, freezing, or paralysis effects on the target. While checking the monster attributes, several of his soldiers have already been injured. One has been burned by the flames from an arrow, rolling on the ground in pain. Another has been struck by a lightning arrow, lying on the ground convulsing from paralysis. These monsters have decent attributes, clearly higher than the wild creatures Subai encountered before. Before him stands another classical European-style city building. Could there be some powerful monsters to challenge? Thinking of this, Subai feels a surge of excitement. His Rhino tank army finally has a chance to shine. Rhino tanks, unleash your firepower. In the blink of an eye, 5 tanks are summoned. They advance, slowly raising their cannons, aiming at the skeleton archers on top of the building, preparing to fire. Meanwhile, the archers unleash a steady rain of arrows. Thud, 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 the sound of metal striking the armored hull of the Rhino tanks echoes. If they were human, they would have been turned into a pincushion by now. Unfortunately for them, they are facing Subai's formidable Rhino tanks. With 50 points of defense armor, most of the damage is absorbed, meaning each arrow only inflicts less than 10 points of damage. For tanks with 800 health points, it feels like just a tickle. The technology of the army is indeed reliable. Over here, the cannons are now aimed perfectly. Subai smirks. It's time for you to experience the power of rifled cannons. Fire. With a command, the tanks roar to life. Boom, boom. The 5 Rhino tanks expel thick black smoke from their cannon mouths, and the shells slice through the air, crashing down on the skeleton archers atop the building. Bang, bang, bang. With a series of explosions, the skeletons and parts of the building are torn to pieces. The health points of the skeleton archers plummet dramatically. Some are blasted away, landing more than 10 meters away. However, for the archers with over 200 health points, a single round of attack is not enough to take them down. Thus, Subai shouts the command to fire again. As the black smoke billows once more from the cannon mouths, the sounds of cannon fire continue to erupt. Boom, boom. The echoes of artillery resonate endlessly. One shell after another exploded at the top of the building. As the smoke cleared, the skeletal archer on the roof truly turned to dust and fragments this time. Experience gained, 96. Experience gained. 96. Experience gained. 96. Experience gained. 96. A continuous series of experience notifications echoed repeatedly, with the sound alert appearing over 20 times before it finally stopped. This was the formidable firepower of the tank. Killing these monsters was as easy as slaughtering chickens. At this moment, a large portion of the building's roof had been blown off, leaving cracks all over the top. Suddenly, with a loud crash, the structure collapsed like an avalanche, kicking up a heavy cloud of dust. The tank was terrifying. Before the dust could settle, Subai directed the tank to aim at the building's entrance. The door was made of iron and appeared extremely sturdy, but under the tank's fire, it proved to be woefully weak. With a series of thunderous booms, half of the door was blasted to the ground, leaving the other half badly damaged. Without pausing, 5 tanks formed a V-shaped formation, covering the mobilized troops as they entered the compound. These tactical formations were skills Subai had learned in school, and they came in handy right now. Perhaps it was more appropriate to call it combined arms coordination. Sure enough, once inside, many monsters emerged from the dilapidated houses. Some were the skeletal archers encountered earlier at the entrance, while others were skeleton warriors armed with swords and shields. These creatures surged in from all directions. They were significantly stronger than the skeletons faced during the earlier exam. The melee skeletons had bone swords and blades that emitted red flames, green poison, and blue cold light, all infused with magical damage. For an ordinary army, it would take several different unit types working together to take down such a building. However, facing Subai's pre-prepared formations, it was utterly futile. Waves of combined fire from the infantry and tanks cleared all these monsters. Experience gained, 85. Experience gained, 85. Experience gained, 85. Congratulations, you leveled up. Subai let out a sigh of relief. He had finally leveled up. This was his second reward since entering the instance. The first was a new air defense vehicle, and the second was his own level up. Not a bad haul, he thought with a grin. Checking his stats, he saw character level, LV11, strength, 331, agility, 181, defense, 13 health, 10510. Damn, still so weak. If we were to rank the attributes of all the students in the school, he was definitely at the very bottom. Afterward, Subai swept through the entire complex, gaining a lot of experience in the process, which took about 4 hours. Once the sweep was complete, no more monsters crawled out from the ruins. Finally, he arrived at the largest building in the complex, the Great Tomb. This was the central location that Subai had not yet explored. As soon as he entered, some skeletons crawled out from the graves in the mounds surrounding the tomb. However, before some enemies could even emerge, they were crushed by the tracks of the rhino tank, bursting the skulls of the skeletons. Even their tombstones were knocked down and shattered by the tank's tracks. Just as everything seemed to be coming to an end, a rectangular stone coffin lid flew out from one of the giant spirit halls. A roar came from within. Then, a skeleton wearing a crown and holding a wolf-toothed scepter emerged. This skeleton was adorned with jewels and looked far from an ordinary skeleton monster. How dare you disturb the peace of the Skeleton King? Kneel at my feet, mortal, it growled in a deep, sinister voice. Accompanied by the Skeleton King's scepter striking the ground, the great tomb trembled, and a wall collapsed with a thunderous crash. However, before the Skeleton King could advance, Subai had already issued the attack order. Fire at will. Rat-tat-tat-tat-tat. Boom boom. Under the combined firepower of the tank and infantry's AK-47s, a barrage of shells rained down upon the Skeleton King. A series of explosions erupted around the Skeleton King's body, deafeningly loud. The Skeleton King was shattered into countless pieces, and even the great spirit hall behind him was completely demolished. Experience gained. 1024. Since the opponent was the Skeleton King, unleashing such firepower was akin to a royal salute. It was a show of respect. However, Subai felt a bit disrespectful toward the Skeleton King afterward. The sparkling scepter and crown were clearly made of gold. It was uncertain if they could survive the bombardment. He wanted to see if they were the previous equipment. After mobilizing his troops to search, they found no trace of the crown and scepter, which left Subai feeling somewhat frustrated. If those items could be taken out, they would at least be worth hundreds of thousands, if not millions. Just then, one of the soldiers reported to Subai that during the cleanup of the Great Spirit Hall, they discovered a cave leading underground. Chapter 37. Obtaining Hidden Item. Abyss Party Invitation. Subai's lips curled into a slight smile. The entrance to the underground cavern was found beneath the Spirit Hall. Based on past experience, this could be a hidden area. After all, finding hidden areas in dungeons is a rare occurrence. In this world, many people have already discovered its mysteries. This has led to many fortunate individuals uncovering hidden treasures. These people compiled their unexpected gains into books, teaching them to generation after generation. Therefore, Subai was not surprised by it. When he arrived at the entrance of the cave, it was dark inside, and nothing could be seen clearly. A gust of chilly wind blew out, accompanied by a foul, moldy smell. Peering inside, a swarm of bats flew out, flapping their wings, giving a somewhat eerie feeling. Subai did not want to take risks himself, even though he had the support of buildings as his health. So he gathered 2 buddies, each with 100 in hand, and called upon his comrade. "You 2 go in and explore." "Understood, Commander." The 2 carefully slung their AK-47s over their backs and cautiously jumped into the cave. After a while, the 2 brothers crawled out, holding a blood-stained treasure chest. It seemed the interior space wasn't too large. Otherwise, they wouldn't have come out so quickly. "Commander, this is what we found." The blood-stained chest was something Subai had never seen before. Previously, he only knew about wooden chests, bronze chests, silver chests, and gold chests. What was the situation with this blood-stained chest? However, one thing Subai knew for sure was that this chest wasn't a mimic. He wouldn't be cursed, otherwise his comrade would have already fallen victim. Although it looked gruesome, it only piqued Subai's interest in the chest further. Upon opening it, he found only a parchment scroll inside. What is this? Taking it out, the item's attributes immediately displayed. Invitation scroll of the Blue Ice Demon. One-time use item. Quantity, 1. Note. Using this scroll will open an abyss party, summoning demons from another realm. The summoned monsters are extremely powerful. Please use with caution. Group kills are recommended. The invitation scroll of the Blue Ice Demon? According to the note, it seemed to be a usable item that could summon powerful monsters. If he could summon strong monsters, defeating them would surely yield a lot of experience or rare items. With this in mind, Subai safely stored the scroll. It wasn't the right time to use it yet. There were still too many people in the dungeon. If he and the powerful monsters ended up mutually damaging each other, and someone came to pick up the spoils, he would incur significant losses. He decided to wait for a better opportunity to use it. At this moment, it was getting late. This area happened to be part of a cluster of buildings. Surrounding them were many ancient ruins, including some old houses that had not collapsed. The openings of these houses can serve as cover for mobilized troops to shoot from. Allowing his mobilized troops to take turns defending here at night counts as advantageous terrain. At least, it prevents the embarrassing situation of enemies quickly infiltrating with agile beasts and killing his mobilized troops. After a day of fighting, aside from a few mobilized troops who died in a skirmish with a classmate, there were no other losses. Currently, he still has 69 mobilized troops. Subai has over 700 units of currency in the system, so he doesn't plan to recruit more troops for now. As the light of dusk shines, a few fiery clouds linger on the horizon, indicating that summer has not yet departed and the temperature remains high, although there's a slight chill in the evening. Subai stretches lazily, breathing in the refreshing air. His brow furrows as he notices many black dots flying in from the distance. He immediately becomes alert. Chingu, that woman's dragon warrior is too strong. She has taken down over 40 of my flying creatures. I know you've been putting in a lot of effort, and I've lost quite a bit too. Now, only these 15 blood-sucking giant mosquitoes are left. Enough talk. Let's catch up to that woman and steal the treasure chest from her hands. In the sky, 2 male students are riding their flying units, pursuing a fleeing female student. This female student is nearing her limit. Fly faster, Dragon Warrior. Her Dragon Warrior units have all been lost, leaving only the one carrying her on its back. However, the pursuers are relentless, tightly gripping her trail. They only need her units to tire out to achieve their goal. Meanwhile, Subai is in an anti-aircraft tracked vehicle. Observing the approaching black dots, he soon realizes that the one flying at the front is actually Su Xiaoya. The ones following her are not her dragon warriors. Could it be that she is being chased? A thought crosses Subai's mind. At the same time, Su Xiaoya's dragon warrior is gradually exhausting, descending in altitude. It looks like it can't hold on much longer, and the pursuers are also quickly dropping. Seeing this, Subai knows he can't just stand by. Bang, bang, bang. In the sky, the blood-sucking giant mosquitoes chasing Su Xiaoya suddenly explode. Blood and debris splatter onto one of the students. What the heck is going on? Why is there so much black smoke? Bang, bang, bang. On the ground, Subai's anti-aircraft tracked vehicle has opened fire. The shells it fires create black smoke upon exploding in the air, also known as coal ball vehicles. Now is the time for it to fulfill its anti-aircraft role. Shell after shell flies into the sky. Subai watches the cannon on top of the vehicle, continuously spewing flames into the air. 34, boom boom boom. 34 The giant blood-sucking mosquitoes in the sky were all covered by artillery fire, falling in droves to the ground. Subai scratched his head, finding it quite peculiar that he had actually witnessed the legendary cannon shooting mosquitoes. Not to mention, the anti-aircraft armored vehicle had quite impressive defense capabilities, especially after it had leveled up, making its firepower even more effective. Otherwise, Su Xiaoya might not have been able to escape safely. It was terrifying that this vehicle could unleash explosive skills. Could it be that the unit controlling it below was a siege machinery controller? I've heard that those siege units are usually controlled by powerful magic users or strong beasts, and we are no match for them. It must be that girl who intentionally led us here. There's an ambush. Retreat quickly. After killing 7 or 8 blood-sucking mosquitoes, the 2 students who were chasing them made a sharp turn in the air and quickly left the battlefield. Since Su Xiaoya was about to land, Su Bai did not pursue. After all, it was getting dark, and if they were attacked by monsters in the instance, the defenses of the anti-aircraft armored vehicle wouldn't hold up as well. Su Xiaoya landed, and Su Bai went to meet her. Xiaoya, are you okay? Brother Su Bai? I noticed that strange vehicle you were in while flying up there, and when I came to check, it really was you. I'm fine. Although Su Xiaoya said she was fine, she was sweating profusely, and her black stockings had many holes, looking somewhat disheveled, indicating that things were not so simple. Let's get inside the vehicle first. Su Xiaoya nodded, and the 2 of them took the anti-aircraft armored vehicle back into the building complex. Why were those 2 students chasing you? And where are your dragon warrior companions? Su Bai asked in the vehicle. Chapter 38. Killing and looting. Su Bai was furious. According to Su Xiaoya, she and Su Bai were randomly teleported to an open area of giant rocks when they entered the instance. She then summoned 66 dragon warriors to start clearing the wild monsters in the instance. It went relatively smoothly along the way, defeating many clay puppets and gaining experience rapidly. They encountered a classmate along the way, but there was no conflict or battle. That classmate was the one who had been flying above on the big-eyed monster. Following Su Xiaoya, the person seemed a bit strange, and they greeted each other. That guy did not leave. Looking back now, if they had fought then, Su Xiaoya could have easily wiped out the other party's units and eliminated them. However, Su Xiaoya was kind-hearted and did not do anything so extreme, which ultimately led to her defeat and escape later on. When Su Xiaoya cleared a section of the stone circle, the stones seemed to be influenced by humans, beginning to aggregate and transform, eventually forming a humanoid stone golem, a giant rock puppet. Upon seeing this giant rock puppet, Su Xiaoya felt a bit pleased. It seems like luck is on my side today. I've encountered the boss. The classmate who had been following him in the sky has now disappeared. The giant rock golem has over 5,000 health points and can shoot high-damage boulders from its body. Su Xiaoya is struggling in the battle. Although her dragon warrior has high mobility, the damage she can inflict on the incredibly tough rock golem is minimal. The fight has lasted from morning until afternoon, and Su Xiaoya is nearly exhausted. Just when she is about to take down the golem, suddenly, a spear with a crimson force pierces the golem's chest, and it transforms into a pile of rubble. Su Xiaoya turns to see 3 teams approaching in the distance. One of them is the classmate she previously saw riding the flying creature. Another one is the classmate riding the giant mosquito. The last student is someone she recognizes. Ranked 103 in the entire grade, named Zhao Xian, followed by a horde of headhunter berserkers. This group of beastmen ranged soldiers is known for their exceptional spear attacks, especially the headhunter berserkers, who possess a rage skill that boosts their attack speed by 40 and can deal piercing damage from a distance. You stole my monster. Su Xiaoya is not pleased. Sorry, classmate. True hunters reveal their skills only at the last moment. Did the person riding the creature tip you off? That's right. We're here to take the boss. 5,000 experience points is quite a lot. Very tempting, Zhao Xian replies. Humph. Seeing the numbers on the opposing side, Su Xiaoya doesn't want to get entangled. She orders her dragon warrior to protect her and attempts to leave. However, at that moment, she notices a metallic box among the pile of stones left by the boss. Seizing the opportunity, she picks it up. Zhao Xian also sees her action and can't help but exclaim, "You actually found a hidden treasure chest, the Time Guardian chest." Boss, what is a Time Guardian chest? Someone asks. You idiot, you haven't heard of this? The condition to open this chest is that the holder must possess it for 24 hours. The items obtained are usually very good equipment. If the chest changes hands during this time, the 24-hour countdown resets. Moreover, the holder cannot leave the instance until the time is up, another explains. Hand over the chest. Don't think I'll be polite just because we're classmates. Zhao Xian's tone is icy, his eyes filled with greed. You took my experience, and now you want to take my items? That's immoral. Su Xiaoya is truly angry this time. Morality? Strength is morality. Good things naturally belong to those who deserve them. All headhunter berserkers, activate rage. Attack. Zhao Xian didn't give Su Xiaoya any chance to speak. He directly activated the berserk skill of his units. In an instant, the headhunter berserkers let out a collective roar. Their green-skinned muscles tightened, and veins bulged prominently. The hand that once held a spear with one hand now, due to immense strength, switched to wielding 2 spears with both hands. Whoosh! One spear after another was thrown, creating sonic booms as they sliced through the air, targeting Su Xiaoya's dragon warrior. The spears accurately hit their mark, causing splashes of blood. These spears had a powerful tearing effect, and each strike could break through defenses. Even though Su Xiaoya's dragon warrior had naturally tough dragon scales, they were still pierced by the spears, leaving her bloodied. Su Xiaoya dared not linger and quickly retreated. Seeing this, Zhao Xian immediately chased after her, launching a spear. At the same time, Su Xiaoya's dragon warriors closed in on the headhunter berserkers. Unfortunately, the opposing side launched a rapid volley. More than 30 dragon warriors managed to take down only 5 or 6 enemy units before they all fell in battle. The remaining dragon warriors spread their wings and took Su Xiaoya away. You too. Quickly use flying units to chase them. She has less than 10 units left. We must get that treasure chest. The two responded affirmatively, mounting their flying units to pursue Su Xiaoya. Over 100 flying units closely followed her, gritting her teeth. Su Xiaoya left 9 dragon warriors to intercept. A fierce battle broke out in the sky. The dragon warriors displayed great power at this moment. Both sides engaged fiercely. One flying big-eyed monster fell to a strike, as did a blood-sucking giant mosquito. A single round of attacks from the dragon warriors often took down over a dozen enemy units. However, the opposing flying big-eyed monsters were not to be underestimated. These creatures could emit a yellow beam from their eyes, which could petrify the dragon warriors. In an instant, several dragon warriors' arms turned to stone, and the blood-sucking giant mosquito pounced from behind, stabbing into the gaps in the dragon scales with its slender mouthpart. Fresh blood was drawn into the mosquito's body, causing its abdomen to swell like a balloon. The dragon warrior's face paled significantly, and she soon lost consciousness, plummeting from the sky. However, the blood-sucking giant mosquito didn't feel victorious for long, as one dragon warrior's sword severed its swollen abdomen. A spray of blood splattered into the air, covering the dragon warrior, making her look like a monster emerging from a sea of blood. Battles often begin and end in an instant. Within 10 minutes of engagement, the dragon warriors were ultimately overwhelmed due to their small numbers and the enemy's swarm tactics. However, the two pursuers also suffered heavy losses. The person controlling the flying giant monster had their entire army wiped out. Another student, who was controlling over 80 blood-sucking mosquitoes, was left with only 15. This indirectly confirmed that the dragon warrior is indeed a unit of golden level. If Su Xiaoya hadn't encountered a countering unit, even if 3 people teamed up, they probably wouldn't be her match. In Chapter 39, Taking Death with Reason, Seeking the Impossible, Su Bai showcased his power, beating Zhao Xian to the point where he was searching for his teeth. After understanding the situation from Su Xiaoya's account, Su Bai's veins bulged, and he forcefully suppressed a surge of anger. These bastards not only stole monsters and experience, but also injured Su Xiaoya. It was simply absurd, daring to attack Su Xiaoya. Zhao Xian was clearly courting death. They wouldn't get away with this. They needed to know how many eyes the King of Horses had. At that moment, the air defense armored vehicle returned to its station position. As the sun set and rose, the enemy did not launch a night attack, likely fearing an ambush from unknown monsters in the dark. It was certain that today those 3 would join forces to demand the treasure chest. Su Bai sneered inwardly. Damn it, killing and robbing, playing dirty, huh? Su Bai touched the blue ice demon invitation hidden in his pocket. Today, they would experience what it meant to play dirty. Sure enough, early in the morning, the mobilized soldier responsible for reconnaissance came to report that a large group of troops was advancing from a distance. It seemed that Zhao Xian was determined to have his way today. Xiaoya, you stay inside and rest. Watch how I deal with these 3. Su Xiaoya blinked, a bit doubtful and surprised. The pursuers arrived so quickly? Shouldn't we run? They had 3 people, and after a night of recovery, the 2 I eliminated yesterday must have regained some of their numbers. You definitely can't handle them alone. Although Su Xiaoya had always believed in Su Bai, she didn't want him to get hurt. After all, if 3 people teamed up to attack just him, even the strongest commander would inevitably suffer some damage. The regulations at the elite academy in the Demon City were strict, and injured students could be forcibly expelled for failing to keep up with combat power and academic tasks. Therefore, Su Xiaoya was very worried. Su Bai, however, appeared unconcerned, giving her a playful nudge on the nose. Silly girl, just 3 people? Taking them down is a piece of cake. Just watch the show. He then placed her in a safe spot before leaving with peace of mind. As he departed, Su Xiaoya's big, watery eyes kept glancing at the approaching enemy, her heart in her throat. Big brother, we've already scouted. Su Xiaoya is in that building. The enemy seems to be a commander using siege units. Zhao Xian laughed. Do you know what siege units fear? They're not afraid of tough shields, but rather of agile movements. Generally, operators of such equipment can cause massive damage with each attack, but unfortunately, the attack interval is slightly longer. When they encounter my Headhunter Berserker unit, it's like delivering free experience points. Zhao Xian looked at the distant buildings and commanded his troops to accelerate forward. Little beauty, who told you not to hand over the box to me yesterday? Today, I'll show you in front of your boyfriend. Hee hee. The public dungeon was completely unmanaged by the school, nor did they have any plans to manage it. Killing and looting inside was permissible, and any illegal activities could be carried out. The school was only focused on nurturing strong individuals. However, once outside this dungeon. Engaging in such activities would lead to legal consequences. Therefore, it could be said that the school gave Zhao Xian this sense of disregard for the law. The headhunter berserkers surrounded the group of buildings. Zhao Xian had 130 troops. He could easily go for a large-scale dungeon raid, but he chose not to, just to experience the thrill of chaos here. At that moment, Su Bai suddenly appeared atop one of the buildings. He surveyed the enemy's troop types with a disdainful expression. The ranged units were all concentrated with overwhelming firepower, yet he had dispersed his own soldiers so thinly. Open fire. After all, the enemy was the one who harmed Su Xiaoya, so Su Bai had no intention of exchanging pleasantries. He directly ordered the mobilized soldiers to fire. The mobilized soldiers hiding behind cover suddenly stood up straight, aiming their guns at the advancing headhunter berserkers. Bang, bang, bang. In an instant, a burst of bullets struck the headhunter berserkers, taking down 7 or 8 on the spot. Zhao Xian was stunned. Wasn't the enemy composed of siege units? How could their attack speed be faster than his headhunter berserkers? He kicked the person next to him. What the heck? Didn't you tell me they were siege units? How can they attack this fast? The person rubbed his sore backside, looking innocent but dared not argue back. Order everyone to regroup and concentrate firepower. Fire at them. Zhao Xian issued a new command. The previously scattered headhunter berserkers quickly gathered together and activated their berserk skills. They swung their spears and launched them forward. This volley of spears created a rain of projectiles. The building where Su Bai was located instantly became riddled with holes, spears piercing through it like a porcupine. The previously fierce mobilized soldiers immediately fell silent and sought cover. Zhao Xian laughed heartily. Just like that. Hit them hard. Keep them from lifting their heads. And turn them into a porcupine. But before he could enjoy the moment for 2 minutes, the headhunter berserker battle group suddenly erupted in chaos. Explosions rang out. Many berserker hunters were shattered into pieces, floating in the sky. Zhao Xian was stunned, unable to close his jaw. What happened? He saw 5 tanks emerge from the side of the building where Su Bai was located. The cannons were aimed directly at the berserker hunter's position. One shell after another was fired, causing widespread damage. If just now the scattered berserker hunters were agile, making it difficult for the rhino tanks to target them and limiting the damage. Now the enemy had chosen to concentrate their forces, trying to achieve firepower superiority. But they soon realized that the true firepower superiority belonged to the other side. Regaining his senses, Zhao Xian kicked another person. Damn it. You said the siege units attack in the air, but you didn't tell me they were this powerful on the ground too. Both of them received a kick and felt aggrieved, but dared not speak out. Stop dawdling. Hurry up and let your air force attack those armored boxes. Use the petrifying rays from the flying big-eyed monster to immobilize the armored boxes, and let the blood-sucking mosquitoes pierce through the armor seems to drain their blood. The two got up from the ground, only able to follow orders. After a night of replenishment, the number of flying big-eyed monsters increased from 1 to 5, while the blood-sucking giant mosquitoes grew from 8 to 13. They could barely form a complementary combination. Experience gained, 102. Experience gained, 102. Experience gained, 102. Su Bai had no intention of killing all the soldiers in the hands of these 3 people in one go, as that would take away much of the fun, especially with the blue ice demon invitation he carried with him, which he had yet to use. Today, Su Bai wanted to teach these 3 a lesson. At this moment, Su Bai also noticed the 3 in the enemy formation. He commanded 2 tanks to fire at them. 3 shells were launched simultaneously. Boom, boom, boom. The ground was blasted into a large pit. The 3 gathered were thrown into the air by the shockwave of the explosion, tracing arcs in the sky before crashing heavily to the ground. Since Su Bai deliberately aimed the tanks off target, although the 3 were severely injured, they were not fatal. Looking at the 3, 2 of them limped. Clearly one leg had been blown off. Zhao Xian, on the other hand, was covered in shrapnel and debris, bleeding profusely. It seemed he had lost at least 40 of his health. The rhino tank aimed at the 3 again, preparing to fire. But this time, Su Bai gave the order to stop. No rush, let's have some fun with him. Chapter 40. It's still the Abyss faction against the Demon Slayers. What does it have to do with me, Su Bai? Ouch, it hurts so much. My leg is broken, my leg is broken. The 2 people beside Zhao Xian kept crying out, clearly terrified. Zhao Xian cursed loudly, idiot. Why aren't you deploying the flying units? The 2 gritted their teeth and hurriedly commanded their flying units. However, once the flying units were all deployed, they were completely powerless in front of the anti-aircraft tracked vehicle. The shells fired by the anti-aircraft vehicle exploded in the air, creating large clouds of smoke. The shrapnel contained in the bombs could blast out to a distance of over 10 meters. The flying units naturally had thin armor, and this level of damage was simply AoE level. Fragments of flying monsters and blood-sucking mosquitoes rained down from the sky. In less than 2 minutes, 10 of them were already casualties. Zhao Xian was sweating profusely, not expecting to encounter such a tough opponent today. Retreat, retreat, he ordered. quickly gathering his team to evacuate the area. Brother Subai, aren't you going to chase them? Su Xiaya asked, munching on snacks that Subai had brought from his storage ring. Seeing the enemy's defeat, her mood had improved significantly. Hee, if that's the case, revenge won't be exciting. I'll do to them what they did to you, Subai replied, just wait and see. I have my own clever plans. Su Xiaya was a bit confused. Meanwhile, the three of them, each carried by their respective units, ran continuously for 5 kilometers before finally stopping to rest their troops. After taking stock, Zhao Xian's headhunters had decreased from 120 to only 85. The other two were left with nothing, becoming completely defenseless. They could only rest and wait for their energy to recover before summoning their troops again. Boss, let's run. We're no match for him. It would be bad if he catches up, one person suggested. You useless fool. I teamed up with you too because I wanted your flying units for their mobility and reconnaissance, but you're so weak. The profit was supposed to be 80 to 20, and now it's changed to 90 to 10. I keep 9, and you each get 2. What? One of them exclaimed. But don't complain too much. I still kept a backup plan. If he dares to chase after us, I'll make sure he returns empty-handed. Zhao Xian stood up from the rock where he had been resting. Come forth, my hero. The general, with a flash, a man clad in blue armor and holding a spear stepped out from the dimensional space. At your service. The two were excited. That's amazing. Boss, you actually awakened a hero. The general, equipped with a blink skill, would charge into the enemy ranks with his great silver spear, and those ranged units would surely fall in droves. Even if the commander came, it would be surprising if he didn't get killed. In fact, Subai was not even 500 meters away, inside the anti-aircraft tracked vehicle. The three individuals were preoccupied with escaping just moments ago. Furthermore, all the aerial units had been wiped out, so they didn't notice Subai stealthily following them. At this point, he took out the invitation to the Blue Ice Demon and chose to use it. An abyss party? I'm curious to see what this is all about. Suddenly, the sky changed color. The previously clear sky darkened instantly. The white clouds turned blood red in an instant. A bolt of lightning struck down, shattering the ground and toppling trees, causing a loud rumble. Then, the soil began to rise slowly, and a massive stone coffin emerged from the ground. Subai clicked his tongue, sensing that the creature inside seemed quite powerful. Without hesitation, he drove his anti-aircraft vehicle away from the scene. Meanwhile, the earlier thunderclap caught the attention of the three individuals nearby. Zhao Xian immediately became suspicious. Let us go see what is happening. He led everyone to the spot where Subai had summoned the Blue Ice Demon invitation. By this time, the stone coffin was fully upright. With a loud crash, the coffin lid fell to the ground, and a furry monster with a pointed head slowly opened its eyes. The monster's eyes were yellow, resembling a hungry wolf. But its fur was a deep blue, looking quite eerie. A chilling pressure radiated outwards. Zhao Xian's expression darkened. Run. This is a powerful opponent. His instincts told him that this monster was definitely formidable. As he finished speaking, he turned to flee. However, the Blue Ice Demon raised its palm, and 5 blue fireballs surged forward, instantly blocking Zhao Xian's escape route. You think you can stop me? I'm not defenseless, he shouted. Debang Commander. Charge. Headhunting Berserkers. Go. Activate Frenzy. The headhunting Berserkers entered a frenzy, and their spear-throwing speed increased by 40. At the same time, the Debang Commander's spear lunged forward. Foolish humans. The 5 blue fireballs ignited among the headhunting Berserkers. The moment the fireballs made contact, the entire group of green-skinned headhunting Berserkers was engulfed in blue flames. Moreover, this flame could not be extinguished even by rolling on the ground, ultimately being consumed by the blue fire. The most terrifying part was when the blue flames spread to the other nearby headhunting Berserkers. It seemed to be contagious. The Blue Ice Demon pulled out several long spears that had pierced its body, causing streams of blue blood to flow out. The Debang Commander's attack was swift as lightning, and a spear thrust into the Blue Ice Demon's chest, delivering a powerful critical hit. This is a powerful skill of the General of the Deceptive, Zhao Xian, which allows for a mid-range charge attack that can deal critical damage to the target. When critical damage occurs, there is a 60 chance to inflict an additional 300 damage, a 30 chance for an additional 500 damage, and a 10 chance for an additional 1000 damage. Fortunately, in that moment, he managed to deal an additional 1000 damage. The Blue Ice Demon spat out a large mouthful of blood. What a strong thrust. Unfortunately, our demon has 2 hearts, ha. One of the 5 fireballs from the demon flew back and struck the General of the Deceptive heavily. This powerful hero was also engulfed in blue flames. But he is a hero-level character. He bravely withstood the fiery onslaught, pulled the spear out of his chest, and continued to attack the Blue Ice Demon several times before finally collapsing to the ground. At this moment, all of Zhao Xian's soldiers were eliminated. His legs had turned to jelly, collapsing to the ground, while the Blue Ice Demon's breath was becoming weaker, clearly nearing its end. Meanwhile, In the principal's office at the school, the head teacher, Mr. Shun, approached the principal. Principal Chin, there has been an energy disturbance in the public dungeon. It seems someone has opened the abyss party. Should we send a message to all students to get them out of there? Huh. Which kid is so strong that he managed to get the demon invitation? No need. This is also a way to train the students. As long as they don't die, they will become stronger. Yes. Wait, find out which student released the demon invitation. No. Let us wait until he escapes from the blue ice demon before investigating. Also, take a look at this file. Principal Chin handed a file to Mr. Shun. It had the name Subai on it. Subai? That's right. This student, with such poor attributes. How did he get into our school? This student was admitted under Director Kai's responsibility. Mr. Shin frowned. Director Kai? That shouldn't be the case. Could it be that Director Kai received some benefits? He felt suspicious. Principal Chin, I understand. Once I'm done, I'll personally ask Director Kai what is going on. If the student indeed does not meet our school's requirements, I will report it immediately and demand his expulsion. Go ahead. In the public dungeon, Zhao Xian had no strength left to fight. 5 fireballs flew towards Zhao Xian's limbs, and flames erupted from his arms and legs. Yes, limbs. If you ask me where the 5th fireball hit, I can only tell you there's a burning smell in the air. 2 other students also collapsed to the ground, huddled together, waiting for the arrival of death. They helplessly watched as Zhao Xian was engulfed and burned by the blue flames. But at that moment, Su Bai suddenly charged out, delivering a heavy punch to the blue ice demon's chest. Another foolish human. A fireball quickly flew towards Su Bai. Wait, no. Su Bai's attack targeted the wound from the spear of the commander. After his fist went in, it wriggled madly to the left side. It wasn't until he touched the other beating heart of the blue ice demon that he pulled it out. A heart was yanked out alive. Immediately, he squeezed hard. A critical hit occurred, and the health bar was emptied. The blue ice demon fell down. Experience gained, 100. 000. Gained, gold chest. Gained, bronze chest. Gained, iron chest. Gained, wooden chest. Gained, 200 gold coins. So many rewards. No wonder it's a demon from the Abyss Party. The rewards are quite abundant. Chapter 41. Mobilizing soldiers to enhance permanent attributes, significantly increasing defense and magic defense. Becoming an iron-blooded soldier. 100. 000 experience points directly leveled him up by 1. But that's not all. The most important thing is that this monster dropped so many chests. One of them is even a gold chest. Items or equipment randomly appearing in this type of gold chest are extremely rare. Priceless. To be aware, the necklace around his neck, which belonged to Zhao Haoyan, adding 20 points to strength, is already invaluable. Even so, that piece of equipment was only purple in color. One can imagine how high the value of the golden equipment from a gold chest could be. However, Subai didn't have time to dwell on opening the chests. There were still 2 people in front of him that he hadn't dealt with yet. The Zhao Xian who had attacked Su Xiaoya was already dead, but his 2 lackeys couldn't be let off easily either. The 2 recovered from their panic. Classmate, we wouldn't have met if not for the fight. Thank you for saving us. Subai smiled, patted their shoulders, and replied, since we're classmates, I want to pursue what happened this morning when you attacked me. How magnanimous. After we get out, I'll treat you to a meal. No need for that. After such a tiring dungeon run, it's better to lie in bed and rest for a few months. Come back to school when you feel better. The 2 exchanged glances, not understanding what Subai meant. Suddenly, there was a cracking sound, and both of their arms were dislocated. They dangled limply from their shoulders like noodles. Oh my god. It hurts so much. My arm. Hey, what are you doing? What am I doing? Teaching you both a lesson. Next time you bully my friends. It won't be so easy. Do you surrender or not? We surrender. We surrender. Get lost. The 2 made up their minds to surrender and hurriedly left the public dungeon to go to the school's infirmary for treatment. At this moment, Subai received a text message from the school. The content stated that his ranking had improved by 15 places, now standing at 217. It seemed that for now, the school was focusing on producing outstanding talents for society, and he was not among them. It's a pity that Zhao Xian wasn't taken down by him. Otherwise, his ranking could have surged even higher. For the time being, this would have to do. He returned to the base in an armored vehicle. Su Xiaoya had been waiting for a while. After nearly a night's rest, her energy had significantly recovered. The dragon warriors summoned 4 more from within her, now having 5 as her personal guard. Finally, not just a lone commander anymore. You're not going to chase them alone, are you? Su Xiaoya asked. Hee. I had them help with a big task. Help with a big task? Yes, I let them help me fight the boss, just like how they took down your boss. Right before it's about to be defeated, I'll take the kill from them. It's called using their own methods against them. Really? Subai took out a golden treasure chest. Do you believe me now? Su Xiaoya's eyebrows arched in delight, breaking into a smile. Subai Gij is indeed amazing. How could I not believe you? Back at the First Guard Academy, many said your academic performance and aptitude were poor, but I didn't believe it. Every time I heard someone say something about you, I would confront them. Hee, don't you think my judgment is quite unique? Su Bai scratched his head awkwardly. If he hadn't awakened the red alert systems units, Su Xiaoya would probably be laughing at him now. However, Su Xiaoya didn't notice his embarrassment. Instead, she took out her own treasure chest. The time is almost up. We have about 30 seconds left. Let's open my treasure chest first and see what good items are inside. Su Bai was also very curious about what was contained in this chest that needed to be held for 24 hours before opening. 10 seconds, 8 seconds, 3 seconds. Time's up. With a click, Su Xiaoya opened the treasure chest, and a dark red light flashed out. This was a kind of light Su Bai had never experienced before. The glow dimmed, revealing a mysterious treasure before them. Heart of Stone. Permanent enhancement item. One-time use. Note. Increases overall defense of troops by 20 points and reduces magical damage by 15. Wow. An item that boosts defense. This is exactly what Su Bai Gige's infantry needs. When attacking, they won't have to hide anymore. Su Xiaoya eagerly presented the Heart of Stone to Su Bai with both hands. Xiaoya, this is something you obtained. You don't need to give it to me. Especially since it's so precious. If it weren't for you, I might have been injured and dropped out instead of even getting a treasure chest. This item is very useful for you, so don't be polite. This treasure is really great, especially when used on my mobilized soldiers, as it can improve their weak defense. So I accepted this item. Thank you. Here is something for you. Su Bai gifted the extra purple attribute, Little Red Riding Hood's pendant necklace, to Su Xiaoya. This necklace has excellent attributes. It adds 6 agility and 10 health. However, after Su Bai obtained Zhao Haoyan's Divine Warrior necklace, it became less useful. Now giving it to Su Xiaoya will also increase her agility. Su Xiaoya's eye sparkled. This necklace is perfect for her, especially with the 6 points of agility, which can ensure her survival in battle. Thank you, brother Su Bai. Saying this, she happily gave Su Bai a kiss on the cheek. Su Bai used the Heart of Stone item. Looking at the mobilized soldiers he summoned, it seemed that a layer of cement-like substance instantly attached to their uniforms, making the originally bright clothes look a bit duller. Su Xiaoya knocked on it, producing a muffled sound. It was indeed different from before. The mobilized soldiers gained hardening and resistance. If they suddenly encounter agile opponents like the Black Panther Legion, their survival ability should improve significantly. Now, the mobilized soldiers have truly become an iron army. Su Bai also took out his golden treasure chest. Let us see what's inside. Upon opening it, a dark red light was emitted. Blue Ice Demon S Wrath. Permanent enhancement item. Single-use item. Note. The heart of the Blue Ice Demon emits a dark blue wrath. After use, the lowest level troops' attacks will inflict flame damage, adding 5 points of burn damage per hit. Su Bai took a deep breath. This thing is powerful, yet not so powerful. An additional 5 points of damage per attack doesn't significantly enhance the mobilized soldiers, basically less than 10 points of improvement. If used on a Dragon Warrior, the enhancement would be even smaller, as the attack speed of the Dragon Warrior is lower than the firepower of the mobilized soldiers, AK-47. So it's a burning bullet? What do you mean? Su Xiaoya couldn't understand what Su Bai casually mentioned, as there were no firearms in her world. It's nothing. This item isn't useful for either of us. I'll sell it for money and treat you to a nice meal later. After that, Su Bai opened all the other treasure chests one by one. Most of them contained coins or ordinary green equipment. Chapter 42. Soaking in hot springs with Su Xiaoya. Dragon Warrior advancement and enhancement, my oil field, my mine. The two, with broken arms, limped out of the dungeon, covered in injuries. First, they were hit by a rhino tank, breaking their legs. Then Su Bai broke their arms. They looked quite disheveled. At that moment, the two saw Zhao Haoyan selling buns at the entrance of the public instance. You, come here. The current Zhao Haoyan was no longer the charming playboy of the past. With his father locked up and his mother under investigation, the family's vast assets had also been frozen. With no way out, he thought about getting a diploma from a prestigious university in the city, hoping to find a decent job afterward. However, he was surprised to learn that this school had a system of elimination based on performance. Previously, in a fit of anger towards Su Bai, he had taken 2 banned substances, which had backfired on him. Now, his health was ruined, and graduation seemed hopeless. Given the circumstances, he decided to set up a small stall in front of the public instance to earn some money in advance. 2 classmates, would you like meat buns or vegetarian ones? I use only the finest pork filling, and the chives are fresh. Given Zhao Haoyan's character, the pork was likely low quality, and the chives were probably discarded from the market. He aimed for maximum profit with minimal investment. Hey, hurry up and move the tricycle. Let us sit on it, and take us to the school clinic. Isn't that a bit much, guys? I just set up my stall. Stop wasting time. We'll take all your buns today, just get them over here. One of them exclaimed, slamming 2,000 yuan into Zhao Haoyan's face. The cash flew everywhere. Zhao Haoyan immediately greeted them with a smile, scrambling to gather the bills. Previously, He wouldn't even bother bending down for that amount. But now, having gone from a high-status individual to a broke loser, he had no choice but to pick it up. All his anger and hatred were directed towards that detestable Su Bai, and it had only intensified. Zhao Haoyan helped the two to the clinic entrance. Just then, Teacher Shen, who was in charge of some affairs in the clinic, happened to run into them. What happened to you two? You look seriously injured, like your bones are broken. Upon hearing Teacher Shen's concern, they immediately began to cry, omitting the part about being chased by Su Xiaoya and instead exaggerating how Su Bai had caused them harm. They also mentioned that Zhao Xian had been killed because of him. Not only had they lost the boss, but they had also been beaten and left with fractures by Su Bai. Zhao Haoyan was taken aback. That scoundrel Su Bai had gotten lucky again. Teacher Shen frowned. Feeling helpless, killing and looting in the instance was not against the rules. Seizing the opportunity, Zhao Haoyan interjected, Teacher Shen, I used to go to the same school as Su Bai. He didn't study well and often hung out outside the school. He was more familiar with the detention center than celebrating the new year at home. Moreover, this person is quite despicable. Previously, when I sparred with him, he was afraid of my strength, so he resorted to using forbidden substances to injure me. This person is nothing but trash. I suggest the school expel him immediately. I am about to test Su Bai's strength. If he truly is inadequate, I will recommend his expulsion. For students like him, Teacher Shen has always been decisive and strict. Even if you have some strength, he will find a way to get you expelled. In his mind, martial ethics are always more noble than martial power. Zhao Haoyan shifted his eyes and said, Su Bai is very despicable. He will definitely resort to tricks. If the teacher really wants to find someone to test his strength, I suggest finding someone powerful to spar with me first, then switch rankings. This way, it seems fairer when competing against Su Bai. If he injures or even kills other students, it would be a disaster. By the way, Su Bai's troops are all ranged physical types, so it's best to find some units that can counter him. Zhao Haoyan also had selfish motives. If he could switch rankings with a good student and compete against Su Bai, he might not necessarily kill him, but at least he could seriously injure him to vent his frustrations. If Su Bai truly has strength, a narrow victory would still allow him to maintain his ranking. Facing challenges from up to 10 students a day, and by the time he drops to the bottom, the semester would be over. He wouldn't be forced to drop out within half a semester. Teacher Shen non-committally responded with an experience gained, 85, experience gained, 503, bronze treasure chest discovered. Wow. Su Bai is so impressive. In the dungeon, the two teamed up to sweep through wild monsters. Su Xiaoya's dragon warrior had dragon scale armor for defense, inherently high in defense, acting as the main tank, while Su Bai provided fire support from the back with mobilized troops. Even without deploying the Rhino tank, their overall damage output was considerable. The duo's marching speed was very steady. In just one day, Su Xiaoya's level went from 11 to 12, and Su Bai's experience bar was also over halfway full. On their way, they encountered other classmates, who, upon seeing their formation, quickly retreated. They cleared their way to the center, where there was a pool. Surrounding it were many students. The spring guarded by the Great Dragon is not to be trifled with. Who could defeat the Great Dragon and let my troops enjoy the hot springs? Who would be foolish enough to fight the Great Dragon and end up giving the spoils to others? Indeed, taking down the Guardian is the true path. As they approached, another student limped back with his defeated troops. Su Bai, there's a recovery spring ahead. The recovery spring is a benevolent structure within the dungeon. When injured troops enter the spring, they can purify themselves and restore their health. However, places like this are always guarded by high-level neutral monsters that occupy the area. But, since there are high-level neutral monsters guarding this place, maybe we should find another location. I really want to soak in a hot spring, said Su Xiaoya. As for the recovery spring, Su Bai's soldiers, except for the mobilized troops, couldn't really benefit from it. The Rhino tanks wouldn't help much either. If they drove in, they would just sink to the bottom, which would be a huge loss. Su Bai definitely didn't want to share a big hot spring with mobilized soldiers, who were all hairy. Alright, let's change locations. Wait, did you say you want to soak in a hot spring? Su Xiaoya tugged at her shirt, which was soaked in sweat. The wet fabric clung to her chest, accentuating her curves, and a hint of crimson appeared on her face. It was hard to tell if it was due to the sun or the heat of the place. Su Bai glanced over and couldn't help but swallow. Wash. I must wash. He called his troops. After a series of overwhelming attacks, the guardian of the hot spring was defeated, granting 1,000 experience points. Su Xiaoya was invited in. At this moment, seeing that the guardian had finally been taken down, other classmates rushed over, eager to dive into the recovery spring to restore their mental strength and troop health. Bang bang bang. Boom. Some of the incoming troops were sent flying by Su Bai's Rhino tank shells. Classmates, this is too stingy. Why not share the spring water after taking it down? You're being too selfish. Selfish? That's a joke. Su Bai wanted to jump in and bathe too. How could he soak in the hot spring with these unfamiliar students? Especially since they were all men? My resources, my mind, Now that I've taken control of the spring water, no one can take it from me. Subai looked at the defeated soldiers. Shameless. Don't back down. Let us fight him together. With a loud crash. The person hadn't finished speaking before Subai's rhino tank sent him flying several meters away. He fell into a near-death state and quickly fled the battle range. Exiting the instance, Subai replied with confidence. I fought for this spring water. Why should I share it with you? In a public instance, everyone relies on their own abilities. The strength Subai displayed left the crowd in silence. Some students were fuming, feeling upset inside. But for Subai, it didn't matter. It was a public instance, free for all. Only the capable would prevail. He wasn't the kind of person to kill for treasure. So he didn't feel any guilt. Instead, it was these people's moral coercion that annoyed him. One student was particularly dissatisfied. Don't think you can show off in a public instance. Armadillo troops. Take him down. This student commanded his armadillo troops to attack Subai. These armadillo soldiers were covered in thick scales. Under the sunlight, it shone brightly, radiating a golden glow. To him, Subai was merely a powerful siege weapon. His pangolin troops could burrow underground, immune to the opponent's long-range firepower. When they got close enough, they would unleash a burst of close-range attacks like assassins. However, he underestimated Subai's strength. 3 sentry cannons were in his chest. The basic attack power exceeded 150. Moreover, building hit points were linked to his health, making his vitality frighteningly high. Whether it was soldiers or himself, Subai was a versatile player. As the pangolins approached and broke through the ground, their sharp claws shot up towards Subai's jaw in a dragon punch. Death. Unfortunately, while his troops did reach Subai, it seemed ineffective. Instead, Subai delivered a powerful whip kick that sent the pangolin flying away, crashing heavily into the commander. Blood spewed from his mouth. This person immediately recalled his pangolin troops, retreating timidly to the back. I told you, this spring water is mine. Don't try to take it. You can't outcompete me, and getting angry isn't good for your health. Subai's killing intent filled the area. He coldly questioned the remaining students. Who else? Who else wants to take my spring water? As his gaze swept across, many students couldn't help but lower their heads, not daring to meet Subai's eyes. There was no way. Subai's displayed strength was simply beyond their capabilities. Even if they banded together to attack, it would be tantamount to seeking death. Thus, they had no choice but to retreat and look elsewhere. After they left, Subai ordered his soldiers to keep watch outside. He stripped off his clothes and was about to enter the hot spring to bathe with Su Xiaoya. The picturesque scenery made Subai salivate. As soon as he stepped in, he was immediately stunned by the scene inside. A group of perfectly shaped dragon warrior women were soaking in the hot spring, but he didn't see Su Xiaoya. At that moment, Su Xiaoya called out from the side, Brother Subai, this spring water has been polluted by the big dragon. It's all dark, and we can't soak in it. What the heck? He had almost killed a few classmates in his eagerness just moments ago. And now he was being told that the water was too dirty to bathe in. What kind of nonsense was this? Subai casually scooped a handful of the hot spring water. Indeed, it was murky, like sludge. It felt oddly familiar. Suddenly, flames erupted across the surface of the entire hot spring. The dragon warrior women spread their wings and flew out one by one. Their wings were ablaze, clearly changed from before. That's great, Brother Subai. Listening to you, I have set up a hot spring. My dragon warrior has absorbed the black essence from the spring and has now advanced. The damage now includes fire elemental attacks, with a power increase of 20 points. As she spoke, Su Xiaoya came running over, her graceful figure clad only in a bra, and hugged Subai. The softness and comfort were simply like velvet. After a long moment of tenderness, Subai finally remembered what the spring water's composition was. Isn't this oil? Sure enough, after searching the vicinity, a small oil refinery platform appeared. It seemed that someone had been refining oil here before. Later, the area became a dungeon, and all the workers evacuated, leaving only the empty oil well behind. My oil field, my mine. Subai was instantly inspired by several great figures. He immediately produced a worker from the barracks. Oh, no, it was an engineer. He sent him into the refinery platform. In the next moment, the oil field was coated with a layer of paint. The resources in his chest quickly increased by 1,000. The oil field returned profits, basic operations. For the next few days, the two of them wandered around the hot spring. While Subai waited for the oil well to generate income daily, they could earn 100 gold coins worth of resources each day. Public dungeon closed. Countdown to exit. 109. The public dungeon at school is open for 3 days each time. After the time ends, everyone automatically leaves. Then it enters a 1-month cooldown period. 321. Wow, we're out. This time, going into the dungeon with Subai feels like a dream, so incredible. The two left the dungeon along with the remaining classmates. Su Xiaoya was still in excitement. Silly girl, after spinning around, you must be tired. Let's go back and rest well. Chapter 43. 2 miners, double speed. Unexpectedly discovering a gem mine, my oil field, my mine. In the school office, What does this mean? You suspect I took money for enrollment. Director Kai from the Academic Affairs Office questioned Teacher Shun. Director Kai, please don't be angry. Principal Chin sent me to check. You know our school doesn't accept bribes. Su Bai is indeed the top student from Handong Province, and I personally tested him. You know that I offended the director of the Handong Provincial Public Security Bureau to recruit this student. Now you tell me he is not capable. No one doubts you. It's just that some find Su Bai a bit suspicious. How about this, in a couple of days? I'll have one of our Class S students ranked 200 to compete with him. If their strengths are indeed similar, I won't say anything. And Principal Chin won't question it either, and will trust you even more. Under the pressure from the principal, Director Kai had no choice but to agree. Fine. The next day, Su Bai was called to the office area. The school ranking competition is heating up, and many students are eager to participate. However, why haven't I seen you make a move? Asked the grade leader, Mr. Shun. I'm busy training, I replied. I can only challenge the top 10 every day. And it's just too slow. This won't do. Every student must have at least one challenge to help the school gauge their overall strength. You can't be an exception. Get ready. The school has arranged a match for you against a student ranked 200th in 3 days. You two will compete. I was a bit confused. I hadn't heard of the school enforcing PK matches before. What was going on? However, since it was the school's arrangement, I didn't mind too much. These days, the dungeons were on cooldown, and the 50-player dungeon wasn't yielding anything good, plus the experience was low. I couldn't even get into the 100-player dungeon yet. So having a challenge arranged by the school was actually quite nice. At least I wouldn't have to beg others for a match. I had seen firsthand how players with much lower rankings wanted to challenge those higher up, only to be denied on the spot due to the veto power held by the higher-ranked players. Those lower-ranked players had to offer a substantial amount of money just to get a chance to fight. I didn't want to be a fool and pay for a match. So if the school could arrange battles, that would save me a lot of money. Back in my dorm, I began to check my stone C. This time I had gathered quite a bit in the public dungeon. I had obtained 2,848 gold coins, 6 white equipment pieces, 3 green equipment pieces, and 2 items that permanently increased my attributes. I gave some of the equipment and 848 gold coins to Su Xiaoya. I still had 2,000 gold coins and 5 pieces of equipment left. The attributes of these were quite average, except for one exquisite green denim coat, which had decent stats. I equipped it, increasing my defense from 13 to 16 points. I sold all the remaining equipment at the pawn shop outside the school, which netted me another 2,000 gold coins. In total, I now had 4,108 gold coins. I converted all of this into my system, bringing my funds to 5313. I clicked on the armed mining vehicle to produce, and my funds quickly dropped by 1,400. Money seemed to flow away like water. However, at least my mining efficiency had improved, providing me with 1,000 gold coins daily. For hours later, with a sound, the doors of the heavy machinery factory opened, and a brand new armed mining vehicle rolled out. However, I still didn't have enough space in my stone C. I couldn't build a power plant, which meant that creating anything took a long time. Coincidentally, it was the weekend, and I hadn't had a proper tour of the big city nearby, especially not the unique dungeons in the area. He took a bus to the suburbs and explored a bit. The dungeons in the suburbs were not very high in level, mostly at beginner level, with the highest only being level 5. It can be said that the big city is different, the security around is good, and there are no dangerous wild monsters, which keeps the dungeon levels quite low. On the way back, it suddenly started pouring rain, and the bus cautiously navigated the winding mountain roads. Suddenly, rocks began to collapse, and torrents of mud and debris rolled down from both sides of the cliff. People on the bus gasped in shock. The bus driver quickly shifted into reverse, barely managing to avoid being swept away by the mudslide. The driver, feeling anxious, said, "Folks, we can't go anywhere. We'll have to stay in the mountains for a couple of days until the teams come to clear the mudslide." As soon as he said this, everyone on the bus expressed their dissatisfaction. "Come on, man. Are you serious? Tomorrow is Monday, and we have to work." One person exclaimed, "If we can't go back by tomorrow morning, that means 3 days' worth of pay will be deducted. Are you going to compensate me? I work 996 every day, and this is the only day I get to go home in a month. If I miss my return, my boss might fire me. Can you help me find a job?" The driver felt helpless against their complaints. What could he do about a natural disaster? For Su Bai, getting back was even more important. In the strict high-ranking academy he attended, being late could result in point deductions, and if he missed classes for 2 days, he might even be expelled. Looking at the rubble and mud ahead, Su Bai realized he had to take action. He instructed the driver to open the door and got out alone, summoning 2 armed mining vehicles from his chest that were currently mining. "Commander, I smell ore," shouted one of the drivers from the vehicles. "Go clear the rocks and mud, and ensure the bus can pass through." Received. With that, under the gaze of the onlookers, the 2 vehicles began using their rock mixers to clear the road. The people on the bus were shocked. They hadn't expected that among them was a young man with awakened abilities. The driver was even more astonished. How could this young guy have such specialized skills? Had he already passed the civil service exam? Otherwise, he wouldn't be out here working to clear the road. Sighing, the driver thought about how unfair life could be. Civil servants had stable jobs with all benefits covered, and they could work until retirement without worrying about being eliminated at the age of 35. Many young women sought to marry civil servants for that very reason. Looking at himself, the driver had been driving a bus for 10 years and still couldn't afford a house in the big city because no one was contributing to his housing fund. As the road clearing progressed, something shiny began to glimmer beneath the mud. Could it be a gold mine? Subai instructed the cart driver to focus on clearing the sparkling areas. Sure enough, the driver informed Subai that he was currently collecting gold ore. Wow, clearing a roadblock could yield some unexpected funds. This truly exceeded Subai's expectations. After nearly an hour of clearing, the driver told Subai that they had collected enough gold, over 600. Subai gasped. He hadn't anticipated such a quantity. To put it in perspective, his cart collected enough gold in one day from his own stone sea to provide 500. Yet in just half an hour, they had already reached 500 in gold. At this point, the road was clear, and the driver honked the horn twice, signaling Subai to get in and leave. Just then, the driver yanked on a black lever. Yura. Subai, confused, went over to inquire. To his surprise, both carts did not stop, but instead rushed toward a massive stone. This stone was as big as a large truck, but it was parked on the side of the road and did not obstruct their path. The carts began to smash the stone furiously. Gradually, the outer petrified layer was stripped away, revealing colorful minerals inside. They were sparkling. The people on the cart screamed in excitement, ignoring the driver's protests. They jumped down to collect the crushed mineral debris. Look, those are raw gemstones. Gemstone cores. So many of them, worth a fortune. These items were incredibly precious. Some even came with basic attributes. Quick, grab them. Subai suddenly realized that this was just like the gem mines in a certain strategy game, where the resource value was double that of gold mines. In the game, it was also referred to as gathering food. He quickly summoned all his mobilized troops. Aiming their weapons at the crowd, they kicked up a cloud of dust on the ground to block them from grabbing the resources. A few middle-aged women were indignant, saying, "This mine grew in the ground. It's not yours to monopolize." Subai replied calmly, "My oil field, my mine. No one can take resources from me." As the angry and unwilling gazes of the crowd bore down on him, Subai's carts absorbed all the minerals. They finally returned to his possession. The two carts of minerals, initially a mixture of sand and stone, had low value. However, they eventually transformed into sparkling, colorful gemstone ore, and the funds began to surge dramatically. After submitting the two carts of minerals, the funds reached a staggering 5,000. This was completely beyond Subai's expectations. If it had been according to the original plan, it would have taken 10 days to accumulate 5,000 in funds. Now, having discovered a mineral vein, he could obtain such wealth so quickly. Thinking of this, it's a pity that the mineral veins across the country belong to the state. One can only temporarily dig a bit, skirting the edges. If only one could mine in other regions, that would be great. Back at school, it was already 7 o'clock. Subai went to the cafeteria for a meal and happened to run into Wang Xiaohu and Xin Chao. The three sat together. "Have you heard? It's spreading all over the school that someone summoned the ice demon in the public dungeon and started an abyss party. A student was killed by the ice demon. And I heard that you entered the public dungeon right at that moment, Subai. Luckily, you escaped," Wang Xiaohu gossiped. Subai chuckled. "I was indeed lucky. But I actually encountered it and killed it, gaining 100,000 experience points." Wang Xiaohu, who was munching on a chicken leg, opened his mouth wide, causing the chicken leg to drop. "No way. Are you joking? The ice demon can only be summoned with a hidden item, and its strength is between level 23 and 30. You killed it? I don't believe it. If you really did, I'll treat you 3 to this meal." "Believe it or not, I really did kill it," Subai said, without any evidence and not wanting to flaunt his loot in a crowded place. "Forget it. Let's just drink some beverages." Chapter 44. Using the ice demon item, the junior mobilizer received a massive boost in damage. Subai didn't want to dwell on the matter. The group drank some beverages and changed the topic. Subai felt a bit urgent and excused himself to go to the restroom. "What? You want me to drop to 200th place to take that idiot Zhao Haoyan's spot? And fight against a waste like Subai who's over 200? What do you take me for? I'm the roadblock king ranked 98th in school, ends. Teacher, are you sure you're not mistaken?" Hearing this, Subai felt a sense of familiarity. It seemed to relate to him. The voice came from a stall in the restroom. So Subai moved to another stall and closed the door. "Don't be angry. That Subai's character isn't good. 2 students have complained to me. And if you help me teach him a lesson, I'll apply for extra scholarship funds for you at the end of the term. Teacher Shun, I'm becoming your enforcer. Just point out anyone in school who lacks martial ethics, and I'll handle it. I'm a person of integrity. Ah, the scholarship, more money." The sound of the toilet flushing echoed, and the student named Enz walked out. Subai followed him out. He had just overheard the conversation and realized a significant problem. This teacher Shin actually wanted the student ranked 98th to drop to Zhao Haoyin's 200th spot just to face him. If straightforwardly challenged to fight the one ranked 98th, the teacher would definitely think he wouldn't agree. That's why this situation arose. Subai thought for a moment and came to this conclusion. It must have been those two who reported him, as he had shown no mercy at the time. Once the blue ice demon dealt with those two, he would make his appearance again. Returning to the dining table, Subai asked Qin Chao, "Brother Chao, do you know about the one ranked 98th ends? I want to know more about him. I am an information dealer, after all, and I pay for information." Subai, another one wanting payment. Qin Chao chuckled, "Just joking. We are in the same dormitory after all. I've challenged ends before, he's quite formidable. The units he summons are purely magical, water elementals. Regular physical attacks are completely ineffective against him. You could say he's like the gatekeeper of the school. Anyone looking to break into the top 100 has to get past him first. Many students with strong physical attacks fail because they lack magic and end up returning defeated. Water elementals, huh?" Subai sneered. "I want to see just how strong he is." In Subai's eyes, Ends was just a minor character. The one orchestrating all of this was definitely the grade leader, Teacher Shun. It seemed less like a competition and more like he was being targeted. It looked like he needed to be more cautious in the days to come at school. He noted the grade leader's name. "Thanks for the intel, Qin Chao. If you ever need help, just let me know." After saying that, Subai took his leave and returned to the dorm. Qin Chao knew so much because that's how he made his living, collecting information and selling it to those in need. By providing Subai with information about Ends, he wanted to see how this seemingly weak individual would manage to get into the university. After all, no amount of information could compare to the clarity gained from actual combat. Though he had his own motives, he still hoped Subai would win, which indeed helped Subai. Back at the dorm, Subai took out the Rage Flame of the Blue Ice Demon, a permanent one-time item. This item could add fire damage to regular attacks. Subai thought for a moment. Although his Rhino Tank shells had explosive effects, their attack speed was not fast. They would be countered when facing agile units. His mobilization troops had a high firing rate with the AK, but lacked any special explosive or burning effects. If he counted the fire from the Molotov cocktails, they could indeed cause some burning damage. However, the cooldown time for the Molotovs was too long. After throwing one, he had to wait 3 minutes before using another. Most battles often ended in 1 or 2 minutes, or even in an instant. By the time the second round came, it would be too late. Therefore, he needed to prepare just in case. Subai decided to use the Raging Flames of the Blue Ice Demon. Ding. Used, Subai checked the current attributes of the mobilized troops in his Stone Sea, and indeed, changes had occurred. Mobilized troops, 001, Strength, 20, Agility, 15, Defense, 30, Health, 200, Skills, Molotov Cocktail, Bayonet. Flame Bullet, Passive skill, reduces magic damage by 15. The Flame Bullet can increase burn damage by 5 points with each attack. The firing rate of the AK-47 is 600 rounds per minute. A magazine contains 30 rounds. Therefore, in 20 seconds, it can deal an additional 150 points of damage. This power should be unmatched among all basic troops in the school, right? In a KTV in the magical city, a pale young man with thin limbs and heavy dark circles under his eyes raised a goblet. At his feet lay several princesses who had been drinking with him, covered in bloodstains. He swirled the goblet a couple of times and took a sip of the blood inside with the tip of his tongue. It didn't taste like that of a virgin. It was somewhat like horse urine. This person was Hu Yanju from the prestigious academy in the magical city. Although he had lost in the last battle against Nangang Chui Shui, he still firmly held the 3rd position in the entire grade of the school. Next to him stood Ins cautiously. "Thank you for your guidance, big brother Hu Yan." "Nothing much. Everyone who plays with me is a brother. After you defeat Su by this time, you can talk to Teacher Shin about it. Remember to inform Teacher Shun about the upcoming international competition. My brothers and I would like to participate as well. After all, we are all patriotic youths who want to bring glory to our country, right?" He ruffled In's hair and then took out a card from his pocket, gently placing it in In's hand. 2 million, no need to be polite. Ins felt a bit nervous as he breathed. He had been incredibly lucky lately. With his rank of 98, he had become a gatekeeper using a water element that was immune to physical damage. Any student who wanted to progress in the physics department had to pay a toll in front of him. Otherwise, they would surely be pushed back by him. Dropping to the 200th rank to help Teacher Shun was unexpected. He could also make friends with the 3rd-ranked Hu Yanju. When the time came to defeat Su Bai, he could suggest several candidates for the international competition to Teacher Shun. Teacher Shun should appreciate this favor. Just say the word. Whoever you want in. It's all up to me. Great. Good brother. Hu Yanju clapped his hands and called in 7 or 8 KTV waitresses into the private room. Time quickly passed, and it was soon time for the match. Since both sides did not have particularly large forces, the school teachers did not arrange for Ins and Su Bai to go to the chessboard mountain. They simply found a large training ground for the duel. Subai stepped onto the stage and scanned the surroundings. There were not many classmates watching the match in the stands. After all, this was a competition involving more than 200 participants, which was relatively less popular, so it didn't attract much attention. The few classmates who came to watch included Wang Xiaohu and Chen Chao from his dormitory. Standing nearby was Director Kai, whose expression looked worried. In contrast, the grade leader, Teacher Shun, appeared calm, as if he had already anticipated the outcome of the match. There were also some students remaining whom Su Bai did not recognize. At that moment, the voice from earlier in the restroom rang out. "You must be Su Bai. Let's get started. Everyone, don't waste time." Su Bai turned around to see a slender, graceful boy also stepping onto the stage, standing opposite him. No need to say, this person was Enz. He wore a confident expression and snapped his fingers with his right hand. A bright light shone from his chest, and immediately, pools of water surged up before him. These pools quickly coalesced into transparent water figures. It was evident that this must be N's unit, the water element. Subai did not want to waste time either and promptly summoned over 50 mobilized soldiers. N's was taken aback upon seeing this and couldn't help but burst into laughter. Humans? Am I seeing things? Can humans really be a unit? Some students in the stands also laughed along. Is this really a human? Looks quite human. No doubt it's a human. Wow, no way, it really is a human. When did our school get so desperate as to recruit such units? Who knows, maybe he got in through connections. Wang Xiaohu pressed his lips together, his palms sweaty. How did this guy Subai get into our school? If he just snuck in, as long as he doesn't fall behind and can graduate smoothly. Why does he have to go against this guy ranked 98th? If it were me, I wouldn't agree to this duel. Chen Chao frowned, silently watching Subai below, thinking to himself, could it be true that you came in through the back door? Chapter 45. No rush, let us have some fun. As the crowd laughed, Enz had already launched his attack. The water element surged like a waterfall, transforming into a torrent rushing towards Subai. Subai could clearly see the opponent's intention. He wanted to wrap his mobilized soldiers in the flowing water and drown them within the water element. Is that all? To be honest, this is even weaker than Subai imagined. He thought it would be some advanced water techniques or powerful water attacks, but it turned out to be so primitive. Since that's the case, he decided to play along. Subai didn't order his troops to fire. Instead, he had them throw Molotov cocktails, creating a wall of fire. Then, they retreated as a whole. Enz snorted coldly. Little cleverness. Water element. Douse the flames. Drown them all in your bodies. The water element received the command and flowed towards the wall of fire created by the Molotov cocktails. With the rising steam, the wall of fire was instantly extinguished. Continue the pursuit. The water element then transformed into a stream, surging towards Subai and his troops. But Subai stood in front of his troops, took off his jacket and pants, revealing his shorts, and directly charged into the water element. He dove into the very essence of the water element. Enz was stunned. Was this guy seeking death? Trapped in his own water element, he could either surrender or hold his breath until he suffocated. Suddenly, Enz's brows furrowed in anger. This guy was trying to play tricks, jumping into his own water element as if it were swimming. Was he planning to surrender just before he couldn't hold on anymore? If he won under those circumstances, it would be an undeserved victory, and he could claim that the opponent hadn't put in their full effort, just playing around. Thinking of this, a wicked smile appeared on Enz's face as he muttered to himself. Okay, very good, but sorry, I won't accept your surrender. You can surrender all you want in there. I'll just pretend not to see it until you drown. At the same time, other water elements were closing in on Subai's troops. Without Subai's command, these troops instinctively opened fire. The AK-47s fired, creating little fireballs in the air that struck the water element. Foolish. Don't think you can hurt the water element with ranged attacks. All physical attacks are ineffective. Enz laughed loudly. However, the next moment, he noticed something was off. Although the bullets were not lethal, the flames they produced extinguished upon contact with water, turning into steam and continuously evaporating into the sky. This caused the water element that surged towards Subai's troops to gradually shrink, eventually unable to approach them at all. This scene was truly shocking, especially for the senior teacher, Mr. Shun, who was left gaping. How could this be? Enz was ranked 98, fighting against a student ranked over 200, and he was now at a disadvantage. It was unbelievable. Meanwhile, Director Kai beside him started to laugh. It seems that Subai's troops can also perform magical attacks, and it looks like you've chosen the wrong opponent for him this time, Teacher Shin. Don't worry. Enz seems to be at a disadvantage right now, but Subai's mobilized troops have been consuming magic continuously, using magic fiercely to block the water element. Moreover, they are at a disadvantage against the elements, so they probably won't hold out for much longer. Teacher Shun, the head of the grade, steadied himself and said stubbornly. What Teacher Shun refers to as elemental disadvantage means that water counters fire. Although Subai is firing flame bullets, the actual damage to the water element is quite limited. It's just that the high firing rate compensates for this flaw, making it a reverse attack relying solely on speed. However, when this reached Director Kai's ears, it made him, who had just managed to hold his expression, unable to contain himself. Teacher Shin is not wrong, haha. What are you laughing at? Nothing, just continue watching the drill. Director Kai had personally witnessed the rapid attack speed of Su Bai's mobilized troops. They only paused for a few seconds in a minute. There was no such thing as running out of magic. On the training platform, less than half a minute had passed. Su Bai was still swimming freely within the water element's embrace, seemingly enjoying the experience. Meanwhile, Inz was panicking. The water element's attack had no effect at all, and instead, he had lost a significant amount of his own water element. People in the stands began to revel in Inz's predicament. Ha ha ha, show off. This time the show-off failed. He previously boasted about being among the top 100 defenders, but now he was being slapped in the face by someone ranked over 200. This guy is terrible. Discriminating against our physics department. To advance, we either have to pay him or get pushed back by him. Finally, he's getting a taste of defeat. It's refreshing. Many students watching in the stands were those who had previously been dominated by Inz. Hearing that he had dropped to 200, they came with a sense of schadenfreude to see what would happen. They didn't expect to actually enjoy the show. Students who had been mocked by Inz now finally had the chance to mock him back. Some even started cheering for Su Bai. Of course, there were also some who looked quite grim and sullen, including Hu Yinju, who sat alone in a corner of the stands. Water element, return to humanoid form, long-range attack. Inz frantically commanded, wanting the water element to revert to its humanoid form and launch water cannons to engage in long-range combat with the mobilized troops. Unfortunately, the water element's attacks were soft and ineffective, causing only 7 or 8 points of damage to the mobilized troops. Thanks to Su Xiaoya enhancing Su Bai's stone heart, their overall defense had improved, making them quite resilient. Of course, Inz had once been a powerful figure among the top 100. It's not relying on the attack power of its water element, but rather its powerful physical immunity and survivability. In other words, it's about outlasting the opponent. Even if the opponent starts off strong, their forces will eventually become exhausted, while its water element, with its minimal damage, will wear the opponent down. Unfortunately, the water element encounters mobilized troops that can fire flame bullets. After a round of mutual fire, the now humanoid water element becomes a larger target, and the mobilized troops shoot more accurately. The speed at which its forces turn into steam is also faster. Just a minute has passed, and its more than 60 water elements have dwindled to fewer than 20, with the rest turning into vapor and rising into the atmosphere, destined to become future rainfall. At this point, Inz no longer possesses the arrogance he had at the beginning. He is no longer focused on winning. Achieving a draw with the opponent would be satisfactory. Chapter 46. The water-boiled classmate. The grade leader's face turned green water elements. Withdraw completely. Wrap around me for defense. With great difficulty, he squeezed out his last command through clenched teeth. He ordered all his water elements to retreat and gather close to his body, enveloping him in a water sphere. Upon receiving the command, the water elements transformed into a flowing stream and quickly retreated, gradually moving towards Inz's feet, rising up around him. Inz shouted at Su Bai. Su Bai? I truly underestimated you. I didn't expect your attacks to be so powerful, but I'm not weak either. If you agree to a draw, I'm willing to release your water elements. Otherwise, you will ultimately lose. Inz had already begun to negotiate terms with Su Bai. However, Su Bai seemed to be enjoying himself among the water elements. He swam in a circle, then placed his hands behind his head and crossed his legs, watching Inz as if he were watching television, showing no intention of accepting his terms. All right, you've held your breath for a minute. Let's see how much longer you can last. Don't be a stubborn duck. After speaking, Inz also had his water elements completely wrap around him, forming a sphere about 8 cubic meters in size. This thickness meant that bullets would stop within a meter of impact, rendering any physical attacks ineffective. He was prepared to have a breath-holding contest with Su Bai. Su Bai had already held his breath for a minute, and as long as Inz could outlast him, Su Bai would surely concede. Ultimately, victory would still belong to him. After all, he commanded water element troops and had loved swimming in rivers, lakes, and seas since childhood. Being able to hold his breath for 8 to 10 minutes, 34 times longer than the average person. Since you don't appreciate the opportunity given to you, don't blame me for being rude. Unfortunately, he overlooked the fact that Su Bai's mobilizers were equipped with unlimited flame bullets. Over 50 mobilizers opened fire simultaneously, quickly raising the temperature of the water sphere enveloping Inz. At first, the water temperature didn't change much, and his expression inside the water sphere was still smug. Later, he noticed that the water temperature was approaching that of a hot bath. It was at this point that he sensed something was wrong. He desperately tried to swim out, jumping from the increasingly heated water sphere. Unfortunately, the mobilizers had already surrounded him in all directions. Bullets were shooting in from every side of the water sphere. leaving him with no escape route. If he were to give the order to dissolve the water sphere, he would be turned into a sieve in an instant. Enz was now in despair. The water temperature had been heated by the flame bullets to over 50 degrees. His skin began to feel hot and painful. Subai looked at him but had no intention of stopping. Last time, he had shown mercy and spared the lives of those two students, only for them to turn against him. This time, he intended to let Teacher Shin's arrangement teach Enz a lesson about true pain. Moreover, this guy had tried to drown himself, so he was also going all out. The water temperature rose to 65 degrees. Enz's skin began to show signs of burns. He was in immense pain but dared not make a sound, fearing that opening his mouth would lead to drowning. At 70 degrees, blood began to seep from his skin, and the water sphere turned red. At this point, Subai finally ordered the mobilizers to cease fire. Enz, barely hanging on, quickly released all the water elements enveloping him and collapsed to the ground, unconscious. Everyone at the scene was shocked. They didn't expect Subai to be so ruthless. Enz had suffered at least 4th-degree burns, with blood covering his body and blisters forming on his skin, his face disfigured. Teacher Shun, it's time to pronounce judgment, Director Kai said calmly. Teacher Shun looked at everything before him, gritting his teeth and his face turning a shade of green. In this confrontation, Subai has emerged victorious, ranking in the top 200. Please continue to work hard. Students who enter the top 200 for the first time can receive the school's progress award. Please come to the front to receive it. Subai wiped his wet hair with his dry clothes and walked up to Teacher Shun's stand in just his shorts. Teacher Shun handed him a secret silver chest, his teeth grinding audibly. Congratulations, Subai. Subai could clearly see that the head teacher, Teacher Shun, was suppressing his emotions. Subai smiled slightly, his expression appearing sincere but also tinged with a hint of sarcasm. Thank you, Teacher Shun. I will work even harder in the future. I hope you can arrange some competitions that can help me improve my ranking. After saying that, Subai turned and left. Director Kai felt a surge of satisfaction in his heart. So, Teacher Shun, this student Subai does have some ability, right? Teacher Shun was so furious that he felt a chill all over, his body trembling uncontrollably. After a long while, he managed to squeeze out 2 words, indeed. Meanwhile, in a corner of the viewing platform, Hu Yanju, who was watching the match, was grinding his teeth in frustration. Damn it. This idiot Enz can't even beat someone ranked over 200. What a waste. I can't believe I gave 2 million to a fool. Thinking of this, he turned and left the training ground. Regardless of whether Enz ended up in intensive care or not, he was determined to get that 2 million back. Otherwise, he would definitely pull out his oxygen tube. Back in the dormitory, Wang Xiaohu was overly excited. Wow, Subai, you're amazing. You really know how to play the fool and take down the tiger. Who would have thought you were so strong while being ranked over 200? Such a show-off. Subai felt speechless. He didn't want to be ranked so low either, but his attributes were what they were, and the rankings were in order. It wasn't like he was intentionally pretending to be weak. He simply replied casually, basic skills shouldn't be too flashy. After that, Subai thanked Chen Chao again for the information. Without the other party's help, he wouldn't have been so relaxed today. Who knows? By the time he used the detection badge on his chest, his team might have already suffered a surprise attack. No need to thank me. After all, I got quite a bit of data from you too. Hey, what data? Come on, it's on me, let's go eat. Subai waved it off. The group went out of the school for a meal, and then they dispersed. Upon returning to his dorm, Subai took out the mithril treasure chest given by Teacher Shun. This type of chest belonged to the silver chest category, but was the highest level within that category. It could be said to be a special benefit provided by the school for ambitious students. As long as the students' qualifications weren't too poor, the school would encourage them to strive for success. This is one of the characteristics of this school, a coexistence of cruelty and kindness. Without hesitation, Subai took a deep breath and immediately opened it. A brilliant light flashed. The first item he discovered was 1,000 gold coins. The school is quite generous. These 1,000 gold coins are worth a lot more than tens of thousands. No wonder so many people are willing to risk their lives to compete for rankings. The rewards are truly tempting. Continuing to explore, he found a dark green gemstone. As he picked it up, the attributes immediately revealed themselves. Obsidian gem. Attribute. After using the gem, it can mirror half of the current troops. Note that the mirrored troops have an attack power of 0. Inlay position. Metal. Inlaid on the metal. I indeed have a metal given by Director Chi. If I want to inlay it, I must find a gem craftsman to create a groove. However, the mirrored troops have no attack power. Chapter 47 International Exchange Competition Schools Disastrous Defeat. Subai produces terrifying robots to ride through the streets. If used, it can only show remarkable effects in specific situations. Subai first took back this gem. He will find an opportunity to create a groove on the metal later. In the following time, Subai continued to challenge his ranking, advancing 10 places every day. Of course, he would also receive challenges from other students with lower rankings. However, He did not go all out against these people. Often, as long as the opponent admitted defeat, he would let them go. Soon, Subai reached the 150th place. In the process, he gained a lot of experience. This allowed all the mobilized soldiers under him to upgrade to the 3-star sergeant major level. They could be considered elite troops. At the 150th place, Subai received a mithril treasure chest from the school again. He opened it with high expectations. Unfortunately, this time he did not find any equipment or gems. Only 4,000 gold coins. It was equivalent to giving Subai a sum of funds. He went to the campus's refinement center to purchase the items needed for inlaying that obsidian gem. In this world, gold represents everything. All produced gold is always consumed. Therefore, gold standard currency is always stable in value. For example, the refinement center that Subai visited now consumes gold to forge attributes that can enhance equipment. Gold can also be consumed on equipment to create grooves for inlaying gems. These places all require the use of gold. Thus, gold represents the strength of equipment and safety. The most important point is that the higher the equipment level, the more gold is required for enhancement. The blacksmith sold Subai a smelting magic box. This item is used to enhance inlaid gems and fuse items. According to the Master's introduction, by placing the equipment that needs enhancement into the magic box, it will automatically pop out the required amount of gold coins for enhancement. After placing the gold coins inside, the enhancement can be initiated. Additionally, one point to note is that enhancement is not guaranteed to succeed and may even damage the equipment. The magic box also has another function, which is to inlay gems. By placing the equipment and gems that need to be inlaid inside, along with gold coins, the inlaying process can begin. The advantage is that embedding will not lead to equipment damage. The last feature is item fusion. Placing items with the same aura into it can yield fusion enhancements. As for what constitutes items with the same aura, even the creator of this magical box has not figured out the exact aura. It is only known that similar items emit a faint glow when they are in close proximity to each other. After purchasing the refining magic box, Subai prepared to return to his dormitory for some solitary research. On the way back, he noticed that something unusual was happening at the school. Some people were carrying a stretcher, walking with their heads down and somber expressions, seemingly in a bad mood. It appeared that there was a person lying on the stretcher, covered with a large white cloth. There were dozens of people carrying it. Some students at the roadside were pointing and discussing among themselves. At that moment, Director Kai approached. Subai was curious and decided to catch up and ask, "Director Kai, those people under the white cloth, are they all dead?" Director Kai slightly raised his head, looking equally troubled. "You already know?" he retorted. Subai shook his head. "I'm not sure. But they seem to be students from our school. How did they die?" Director Kai sighed. "A couple of days ago, the school organized an international confrontation exercise. 20 students were selected, ranked 1st, 5th, and 8th. In the first confrontation, out of 9 participants, only 1 survived, and the rest were all killed. A disastrous defeat." Subai opened his mouth in surprise. He had heard about the recent international confrontation organized by the school, which seemed to involve a match against a prestigious institution from another country. He never expected that it would end so soon. Director Kai continued, "It's very strange. Our school is known for its rigorous Darwinian training methods, which can be said to follow a devilish training approach. The students trained here possess extraordinary strength, ranking high nationally, if not world-class. Moreover, they even sent the top-ranked Nangon Chueshua. His strength is recognized by even the principal. How could they be defeated by that institution?" It was truly perplexing. After exchanging a few more words, Director Kai went to handle the aftermath of the deceased students. However, for Subai, his ranking of 150 was not enough to qualify for the international confrontation, so he did not dwell on the matter. He had another task to attend to take a look at the terrifying robot produced by the manufacturing company he was associated with. The terrifying robot is a formidable weapon for the armored units in the game. With extraordinary agility and speed, it can infiltrate tanks and disrupt their internal wiring and compartments. Additionally, it can eliminate infantry in an instant and is immune to mental control. Its only drawback is that it cannot inflict damage on buildings. Subai has always been curious about how this thing would perform in reality. He ventured into a mountainous area near his school and spent 500 coins to summon a brand new terrifying robot from his chest. This robot is fully mechanized and resembles a spider. Checking its attributes: terrifying robot, strength, 20, agility, 70, defense, 35, health, 220, skill, charge, note, charges forward 30 meters. If the target is a biological entity, it inflicts 500 damage. If it is an armored unit, it burrows inside, consuming the unit's health at a rate of 2 per second. This unit has low health and defense, but fortunately, the Heart of Stone boosts its defense by 20 points. However, the charge skill is quite remarkable. Subai has witnessed Zhao Xian summon a hero with this skill, which inflicted substantial damage on enemies. Moreover, This robot has impressively high agility, boasting a score of 70, making it the highest agility unit Subai has seen so far. Unfortunately, there are no armored wild monsters around to test the robot's capabilities. So, Subai sat down on the back of the terrifying robot, asking it to take him back to school. To his surprise, the robot's slender, straight legs moved swiftly through the mountainous terrain, maintaining a stable pace as if walking on flat ground. Thus, it made its way back to the school. Students on campus saw Subai riding the terrifying robot and began to discuss among themselves. Is that an iron crab? Am I seeing things? One of our students is riding an iron crab. You're mistaken. It's actually an iron spider. You both are clueless. This must be some rich kid's robotic toy that he's riding for fun. No way. I haven't heard of such a robot toy before. Oof, you just lack knowledge. Real wealthy kids love these bizarre robots. For instance, I like to play with silicone robots that can mimic real human voices. Every time I touch the machine spirit, it brings joy. As soon as he returned to his dorm, Chen Xiao and Wang Xiaohu pulled him out. Bro, I heard you struck it rich, Wang Xiaohu said first. Wow, how did you get such insider information? I just opened a secret silver treasure chest and made a small profit. You're not planning to take advantage of me, are you? Subai joked. Chen Xiao said seriously, that is not what I meant. Tomorrow is Saturday and Sunday, and the school is on break. The large dungeon at Songyun Ridge to the west of the school is open. It would be a shame to miss it. A shame? It turns out that the large dungeon at Songyun Ridge is the site where patriotic soldiers fought against invaders decades ago. At that time, the soldiers summoned troops that pushed the enemy into a depression. Before dying, the enemy leader unleashed his ultimate move, Knight of 100 Demons. This move delayed the advance of the patriotic soldiers, allowing several enemy leaders to escape. The 100 demons were suppressed, but from then on, this place became a dungeon. It opens every 2 years, filled with demons. Those looking to level up would certainly not miss this opportunity, as they could hunt the troops left from the war to gain a lot of experience and treasures. However, the local county government has strict requirements for those entering the dungeon because entering it could lead to death at any moment. Therefore, each person must purchase a 2,000 gold insurance policy. Only with insurance can one enter. This is why Wang Xiaohu asked Subai about the matter of making money, hoping to team up with Subai to kill some ghost soldiers and earn experience. Since there are high experience rewards and the possibility of obtaining rare equipment, Subai readily agreed. Meanwhile, in a KTV private room, Zhao Haoyan lowered his head, not daring to look at the bloodthirsty Hu Yanju. A KTV princess, who had been drained of blood, lay unconscious on the floor. Hu Yanju licked his lips. Good, you did well this time. You're much better than that fool ends. Zhao Haoyan responded nervously, I dare not, I dare not. There's no need to be so polite. Credit is credit. If it weren't for your good relationship with Teacher Shun, who shared the formation map with you, we wouldn't have been able to give such confidential information to Yamamoto from the Sakura country, leading to our school's defeat. Zhao Haoyan weakly asked, are you going to be a traitor? Chapter 48. The terrifying robot's first kill shocks the knowledgeable informant, Chen Xiao. Hu Yanju frowned and slapped Zhao Haoyan's face hard. The slap was heavy, making Zhao Haoyan feel dizzy. He tasted iron in his mouth, indicating he had bled quite a bit. What the hell are you talking about? A traitor? Those who become traitors are worse than pigs and dogs. I'm not being a traitor. I'm just using the hands of the people from the Sakura country to eliminate Nangong Chui Shui, and then I'll rise to the top of the leaderboard again. After all, in the confrontation with the Sakura country, it's a best of 5, and we'll have another match in a few days. At that time, I will represent our school and our country, crushing the little ones. I want those little ones to be repeatedly ground beneath my feet. Do you understand? A few days ago, due to Subai severely beating Enze, this caused Enze's application to the head teacher, Teacher Shun, regarding Hu Yanju to fall through. The existing rule was that the top-ranked student, Nangong Chui Shui, would decide the team for the competition. Coincidentally, Nangong Chui Shui and Hu Yanju had always been at odds. Thus, Nangong Chui Shui intentionally excluded Hu Yanju from the team. This made Hu Yanju determined to find a way to join the international competition, as it was a great honor. Winning not only would elevate his status in school, but also would make him a notable figure in society. Returning to his hometown, he could even be honored alongside the ancestral tablets in his clan. This incident was undoubtedly a way to bring glory to his family. As a result, Hu Yanju noticed Zhao Haoyan, who was often delivering steamed buns to Teacher Shun. Their repeated interactions surprisingly improved their relationship. Whenever there was a special event, Teacher Shun would be the first to inform Zhao Haoyan. Hu Yanju approached Zhao Haoyan and asked him to request the school's strategy map for the competition from Teacher Shun. Once successful, he promised Zhao Haoyan a large sum of money and assured him that his current ranking of 98 would never drop. Additionally, if Zhao Haoyan could continue participating in the international competition, he would also be included. Winning would bring Zhao Haoyan honor as well. Thus, the plot to sell information unfolded. At Sungyun Ridge, the three entered the dungeon. This area was mountainous, with many places lacking roads. The terrain was uneven and had significant height differences. Subai's rhino tank found it very inconvenient to maneuver here. On the other hand, the Ice Age mammoth summoned by Chun Chao was quite effective. Standing at 5 meters tall and weighing at least 34 tons. Its lower body was that of a woolly mammoth while its upper body resembled a giant man covered in white fur. It wielded a massive scythe, clearing trees to open up the area. Chun Chao summoned over 100 of these creatures to create a path, which was much more convenient than Su Bai's rhino tank. Wang Xiaohu praised, Brother Chao's troops are impressive and incredibly strong. Although the exploration was a bit slow, it was stable. Wang Xiaohu also summoned his own troops. The azure-eyed tigers. These tigers could stand upright like humans and appeared quite majestic, exuding a powerful aura. In contrast, Su Bai's mobilization troops seemed a bit petty. If it weren't for the two having witnessed the power of the mobilization troops' long-range attacks, they might have genuinely doubted Su Bai's admission to the school. Unfortunately, the area was full of dirt hills, and the massive Ice Age mammoths struggled more than the rhino tanks, often getting stuck in the mud, unable to pull their legs out. The three initially planned to set up camp at the mountain top, but the terrain was too unfavorable for them. Plans changed rapidly. Huzi, let your tiger scout ahead. Chen Xiao said. It can go, but my tiger, although agile, isn't suited for long-distance scouting. Its endurance is lacking. Wang Xiaohu shrugged and continued. So I generally only let my tiger attack at critical moments, saving its strength for the time being. After all, a tiger must always be on the mountain, maintaining the momentum of a fierce tiger descending. This is a bit awkward, starting off on the wrong foot. At that moment, they heard the sound of crunching footsteps and mechanical whirring. The two looked over and saw Su Bai training a robot. The robot had 6 legs and a hexagonal body, made of metal. The most peculiar part was that its 6 metal legs were as sharp as razors. Wang Xiaohu saw it and immediately laughed. I said, Su Bai, we came out to tackle a dungeon. Why did you bring a remote-control toy? Su Bai tapped on the robot's metal shell and said, this is a new unit I just summoned, a terror robot. Its 6 mechanical legs move extremely fast like a spider. It should be very convenient for scouting. Both of them looked at the oversized remote-controlled toy, somewhat unconvinced. Chen Xiao asked, it looks like a toy, can it really work? Just watch. Su Bai commanded it to run. The terror robot dashed forward at a speed of 120 kilometers per hour, reaching Chen Xiao in the blink of an eye. That speed is impressive. However, Chen Xiao still had a question. Although the speed is quite fast, if it encounters wild monsters, it might suffer losses since it's a summoned unit that consumes energy. Just then, the terror robot suddenly moved again, charging towards Wang Xiaohu's back. Wang Xiaohu quickly dodged and shouted, wow, Su Bai, your remote-controlled toy is malfunctioning. The terror robot rushed past Wang Xiaohu and headed for what was behind him. They saw an 18-level bear man hiding in the bushes suddenly peek out. The terror robot's front claws extended forward, and its body lightly sprang up. Like a sword unsheathed, its front claws pierced into the giant bear man's belly. With a sound, the giant bear man's belly was pierced, its innards spilling out. The terror robot burst out from behind it. An 18-level monster fell to the ground just like that. Experience gained, 101. Congratulations, you leveled up. Character level, LV12. Strength, 351. Agility, 201. Defense, 16. Health, 12510. While the two were momentarily stunned, the terror robot returned to Su Bai's side, now covered in the bear man's blood. Wow, Su Bai? Awesome. You even had a trick up your sleeve. At the beginning, when you faced Ends, you secretly released it, and it might have taken Ends down in an instant. That big bear just now was really well hidden. My fierce tiger didn't even see it. Wang Xiaohu was merely surprised, while Chen Xiao looked as if he had been struck by lightning, standing there in a daze for a long time before recovering. Impossible. Impossible. How can there be attacking robots in this world? Especially military types. This is absolutely impossible. Wang Xiaohu might not have cared, but Chen Xiao, who had always lived by gathering intelligence, was well aware. There were simply no robots capable of harming others in this world. All robots operated under the 3 laws established by Asimov. 1. Robots cannot harm humans. 2. Robots must obey all human commands, but cannot execute commands that harm others. 3. Robots must ensure their own survival as long as it does not violate the first 2 laws. Therefore, when he saw a robot that could be used as a weapon, he was so shocked that he couldn't speak. Chapter 49. Are there many monsters? It turns out to be the Sea of Experience. Challenging the night parade of 100 ghosts, leveling up wildly. Subsequently, Su Bai released 2 more from his chest, sending them out in 3 directions to explore the forward space and pathways. These terrifying robots were produced after Su Bai opened the second secret silver treasure chest and obtained 4,000 gold coins. He now had 2 armed mining vehicles continuously organizing the ground in his stone sea, and a new power plant had also been completed, restoring production speed to normal. As the terrifying robots explored the path, they also killed neutral wild monsters they encountered, causing Su Bai's experience to increase as well. Experience gained, 89. Experience gained, 115. Experience gained, 122. Obtained, iron treasure chest. Obtained, bronze treasure chest. They also stumbled upon several treasure chests, though what they yielded were just dozens of gold coins or basic equipment, which made Wang Xiaohu a bit envious. Was Su Bai's robot some sort of perpetual motion machine? Fighting and running around, didn't they get tired? An hour later, the terrifying robots had mapped out the route and returned to their original position. Everyone arrived at the top of a mountain, waiting to hunt powerful monsters at night. Nighttime arrived, and the moon in the sky suddenly turned blood red. Blood mist began to fill the surroundings, creating an eerie atmosphere. Chen Chao said cautiously, "The hunt has begun. Proceed to point B as planned." The three of them began to move to their pre-planned position. In the dim light, ghostly figures swayed in the blood mist. "Attack," Chen Chao said first. More than 40 Ice Age mammoths charged out, coordinating with Wang Xiaohu's fierce tiger, focusing on a combination of agility and strength. As the two armies approached the shadowy figures, they finally saw what lay within the blood mist. It was no ordinary procession of demons. Instead, it was densely packed with fierce spirits. Their bodies a deep crimson or dark green, resembling a legion of hellish beasts. Clearly, this was an army composed of various malevolent entities from the underworld, armed with massive spiked clubs, meat cleavers, and demonic shields, charging towards them. Wang Xiaohu and Chen Chao's forces were quickly surrounded upon contact. Although both leaders were courageous, the sheer number and ferocity of the malevolent spirits overwhelmed them. In the midst of biting and clawing, they soon found themselves in a fierce battle. Damn, this is different from before. Isn't the ghostly procession supposed to be limited to 100? Wang Xiaohu exclaimed, noting that the number of malevolent spirits was at least in the thousands. He licked his lips, anxiety etched on his face. Chen Chao remained a bit calmer, but it was his first encounter with such a situation, and it exceeded all expectations. In contrast, Su Bai felt a surge of excitement. Thousands, huh? Brothers, let us rack up some experience. With a wave of his hand, 70 mobilized troops emerged from his chest, alongside 10 armored vehicles, forming a well-coordinated firepower network. The thunderous sounds of artillery erupted, and shells rained down upon the army of malevolent spirits. The sky was filled with their anguished cries, a cacophony of despair. For Su Bai, such a concentrated mass of enemies was a golden opportunity to gain experience. However, it was a different story for Chen Chao and Wang Xiaohu, who were in the thick of battle and suffered the consequences of the explosions from the armored vehicles, losing several men in the process. Wang Xiaohu, feeling the sting of loss, shouted in frustration, "Su Bai, your firepower is too much. You've blown up my troops." He quickly followed up with, "Tell your troops and Chen Chao's to retreat to the sides and regroup with my mobilized forces for defense." Su Bai issued the command. Originally, Chen Chao was meant to be the overall commander for this mission, but as the battle unfolded, it turned into Su Bai directing both Chen Chao and Wang Xiaohu to change their tactics, leaving Chen Chao feeling somewhat frustrated. But given Su Bai's overwhelming firepower, it was clear who was in charge. 20 minutes later, the army of malevolent spirits began to retreat. Suddenly, creatures with black crow wings appeared in the sky. These monsters wore long, red masks with large noses and wielded spears, hurling them down towards the ground. Chen Chao quickly commanded his ice mammoths to intercept the incoming spears, resulting in a series of sharp impacts. The thrown spears were blocked. These spears were originally meant to attack the mobilized troops. Now, they were all intercepted by the Ice Age Mammoth people. Some were even blocked by the bodies of the Ice Age Mammoth people. "Su Bai? Be careful of the attacks from the celestial beings." Su Bai nodded and said a word of thanks. He then summoned the tracked anti-air vehicle. The level 3 tracked anti-air vehicle had considerable power. The celestial beings flying in the sky were instantly hit by the anti-aircraft guns of the vehicle. One by one, the celestial beings fell down. Chen Chao and Wang Xiaohu were left dumbfounded. They initially thought Su Bai's armored shell could fire was impressive enough. They didn't expect he had a vehicle capable of anti-air defense. What on earth was this? They were unable to think anymore. At that moment, both of them looked at Su Bai, feeling that this classmate who had always shared a dorm with them was so familiar yet so strange. Chen Chao said, "Su Bai, I didn't expect you to have such powerful skills hidden away. How many secrets do you have?" "Haha," Su Bai laughed. "It's nothing special, just average." "No, you must come clean this time. I want to write a book about you. Let the whole world know your strength." Due to the overwhelming number of Azura demons, the experience surged into Su Bai's body. Soon, he reached levels 13, 14, and 15. This roller coaster-like feeling of leveling up made Su Bai exhilarated, especially Chen Chao and Wang Xiaohu, who could feel the difficulty of leveling up the most. with their current levels above 10, to level up even once. They needed to defeat at least 1,000 monsters of equal strength. Moreover, they had to consider their troop types and gradually increase their attributes through experience gained from defeating lower-level monsters to fight higher-level ones. The time consumed was calculated in days and nights. This semester, their goal was to level up by 1 or 2 levels, which would already be impressive. They never expected that in just under an hour, both of them also leveled up by 3 levels. It could be said that the leveling time of 1 hour was equivalent to what they could achieve in half a year. It was like climbing Mount Everest while sitting on a rocket, so fast. Commanderly, we've detected unusual activity in the Tsanyun Ridge dungeon. With a large number of Azura demons pouring out from the southeast, northwest, and northeast directions, a phone call startled Li Yuanchao, who was sleeping at home, waking him from his dream. How many have emerged? Over 1,000. It's already a serious threat to the safety of the residents of Tsanyun Ridge. All right, I understand. Upon learning of the incident, Commander Li quickly put on his clothes and prepared to leave his home. At this moment, a somewhat hoarse yet powerful voice called out to him from behind. Damn it, what are you doing out at this hour? Dad, why are you meddling? I'm just going back to sleep. Sleep? What nonsense. Don't you know that older folks have trouble sleeping? You little rascal, you've completely ruined my chance to sleep. Chapter 50. Since they are little devils, isn't it reasonable to kill and loot? You brat, you must be in big trouble now. Dad, tonight is the reset time for the instance left from your battle at Tsanyun Ridge. An accident occurred, and the originally contained spirits have surged in number, and they've already begun to spread outside the instance. The old man behind him furrowed his brows, realizing the gravity of the situation. Why are you still dawdling? Hurry up and drive. Let me follow you. Li Yuanchao felt a bit helpless. His father was a founding figure with a stubborn and foul temper. Despite many bad habits, his strong patriotic spirit overshadowed everything else. Dad, once we get there, just don't give orders and cause trouble. Li Yuanchao laid down some ground rules in advance. TSK. Who's the father here, you or me? Now you're trying to boss me around. Don't forget, I fought my way from the north to the south. I've spent my life in battle. You'll always be my son when it comes to warfare. Wow, I'm impressed. You're amazing. Subai, after today, I must treat you to a meal. Wang Xiaohu looked at him, having similarly leveled up 3 times, feeling particularly excited. Meanwhile, Chun Xiao calmed down and began to record the current battlefield situation in his notebook for data collection. Subai, based on his estimation, this classmate definitely had the ability to rank among the top 10 in the entire grade. This was the legendary low profile of a master concealed in the city. Was he a reclusive expert on the level of a sweeping monk? At that moment, the Shura Demon Legion was collapsing in large numbers. The remaining enemies had split into smaller groups. Subai recalled all his animal reinforcements and rhino tanks to rest. The remaining scattered troops could be eliminated by Wang Xiaohu and Qin Xiao's forces. Just then, a bright light appeared in the distance, blinding the 3 of them. After shielding their eyes, they realized a black sedan was speeding towards them. Damn it, high beams. If you don't have the strength, don't enter this instance. Now you're scared and trying to run away, right? Wang Xiaohu cursed, thinking the vehicle belonged to other hunters fleeing from the spirits. However, when the sedan reached them, it suddenly released a giant demon. This demon stood over 5 meters tall, resembling a massive sumo wrestler, clad in bamboo armor from a neighboring country, wearing a crescent-shaped hat, and casually drawing a samurai sword. Without saying a word, I swiftly severed the green-eyed fierce tiger next to Wang Xiaohu, who was dealing with the Azura evil spirits. How dare they ambush me? 6 or 7 green-eyed fierce tigers charged forward, but they were still no match for the summoned evil spirits. Subai cursed as well. Damn it, they can't get away after trying to mess with me. He then commanded his terrifying robot to pursue. Although the other side was in a black sedan and moving very fast, this was a mountainous area with bumpy roads. Subai's terrifying robot, however, moved on 6 legs, effortlessly climbing over the hills. It quickly caught up. At the same time, Subai also boarded his tracked anti-air vehicle. I'll chase after them. They can't just run away after finishing their dirty work. Wang Xiaohu replied, block them, kill my tiger guard, and make sure to get a good compensation from them. Qin Xiao was also commanding his Ice Age mammoths to engage the enemy's evil spirits. Xiaohu, fall back. Let my troops handle this. The enemy's troops are not ones we can summon. I've seen them in books. They're a special type from the east, known as wind ghosts. They're large and highly defensive. Your green-eyed fierce tigers can't compete with them. The Ice Age mammoth raised its long weapon and clashed with the enemy. The opponent's katana was extremely sharp and easily sliced the mammoth's weapon in half. Wang Xiaohu wasn't idle either. He directed his green-eyed fierce tigers to attack the enemy's vulnerable spots from behind. The 3 forces became entangled in battle as Subai continued his relentless pursuit in the anti-air tracked vehicle. He sneered inwardly, thinking, after attacking, do they really think they can escape? Do they have the strength to do so? It's time for them to witness the power of the terrifying robot. Ahead of Su Bai, the terrifying robot had caught up with the black sedan. It lunged forward like a fish diving into water, crashing into the vehicle. In the context of this scenario, the terrifying robot could infiltrate mechanical units to disrupt internal circuitry and various components, ultimately destroying the unit before emerging to attack the next target. This made it a unique offensive unit. Once inside the black sedan, the terrifying robot immediately began wreaking havoc. The speeding car started swerving uncontrollably. First, the dashboard emitted a piercing alarm, then the trunk was damaged and flew off. Even the back seat began to shake, eventually detaching from the floor. The tires were crushed, and the front of the car crumpled, with black smoke billowing out. Finally, the black sedan exploded with a deafening bang, flames illuminating the surroundings. Su Bai stepped down from the armored vehicle. Two men were lying beside a burning car, one of whom, covered in blood, slowly crawled up from the ground. "You bastard! How dare you ruin our plans? I will kill you." As he spoke, the man suddenly drew a katana from his waist and swung it at Su Bai. Su Bai snapped his fingers. A terrifying robot hidden among the wreckage of the vehicle immediately emerged, its two blade-like forelimbs plunging deep into the man's back, protruding from his chest, piercing through his entire body. Blood sprayed from the man's mouth, and he fell to the ground without making a sound, his body going limp. This guy doesn't sound like he is from the Dragon Country, but he has the air of a major. Could he be from a certain neighboring country? What are they doing here? Not only did they kill Wang Xiaohu's soldiers without an apology, but they also wanted to kill me. They deserve to die. Su Bai approached him to check his belongings. Aside from some money, he discovered a storage ring on the man's hand. This storage ring had the same capacity as his own. After taking out the contents, Su Bai was surprised to find quite a lot. 2,000 gold coins, 10 healing potions, a small booklet, and a gem that shimmered with a dark light. At the same time, the dark green gem on Su Bai also began to glow. This proved that the two gems could be fused in the magic furnace, which excited Su Bai. He quickly examined the properties of the gem. Stone of the Fallen, a tribute, can resurrect a fallen soldier to fight for you. They have double the health of a living soldier, but their attack power is half. Boss-level entities cannot be resurrected. Inlay position, metal, chapter 51. Obtain the title of Resource Tycoon. Random draw awarded, allied base vehicle, another gem. It can summon a fallen soldier to fight for oneself, with double the health of a normal soldier, but with half the attack power. This is incredibly powerful. If I could summon a boss I defeated myself, wouldn't that make dungeon clearing a walk in the park? Opening another small booklet. It was filled with strange symbols from the neighboring country. Su Bai could barely understand some of the Chinese characters inside. Seal 5 activated, Azura Demon King. What does this mean? Does it imply that there are 5 seals in Songyun Ridge, and once all 5 are activated, the Azura Demon King can be summoned? Do these people want to fight a boss? No, the dungeon in Songyun Ridge is not open to foreigners at all. Moreover, one needs to purchase insurance and verify identity information before entering. These matters cannot be handled through normal channels by foreigners. Now there is only one possibility. These individuals have illegally entered the realm. They aim to lift the seal and summon the Demon King. Having deduced this, Su Bai felt a twinge of regret for having killed that individual earlier. Otherwise, he might have pried some insider information from him. But now that the person was dead, it seemed this mystery would never be unraveled. Just then, another individual suddenly rose from the ground and shouted, "All soldiers, take your positions." A purple light flashed from his chest. A troop of over 100 soldiers appeared before him. This troop was clad in armor from the Warring States period, equipped with spear wielders, sword and shield bearers, and archers. Clearly, they had come prepared for a surprise attack. Su Bai quickly retreated while using the detection badge given to him by Director Qi to assess the soldier's attributes. Minor Evil Spirit Soldier, level, LV 19, Strength, 38, Agility, 18, Defense, 19, Health, 388. The attributes were not particularly high, but the fact that this individual summoned a total of 200 troops at once indicated a significant reservoir of energy. He should be considered a skilled practitioner in that region. Suddenly, Su Bai was shot full of arrows by the opposing archers. Given the close distance and the surprise attack, there was little he could do to defend himself. Die. The opponent held coldly. Fortunately, Su Bai's body shared life with the base structure, so despite the fierce barrage, he only sustained a little over 200 points of damage. Compared to his total health of over 3,000 points from all his buildings, this damage was negligible. Su Bai pulled out the arrows lodged in his equipment and cursed. "Damn it, you little scoundrel, you're truly vicious. When I catch you, I'll make you regret it." Su Bai's murderous intent reignited. The opponent was momentarily stunned. Could it be? How could this be possible? After such a treacherous sneak attack, the other side was left riddled with arrows yet remained unfazed. This was a monster, definitely a monster. His legs involuntarily weakened, but he gritted his teeth and fled. At the same time, Su Bai summoned his own troops, mobilizing the Rhino tanks. With a loud crash, the tanks charged forward. The close distance allowed them to directly crush the front line of minor evil spirit soldiers, sending them sprawling to the ground. After the rhino tanks rolled over, many enemies were left with broken bones, while the following troops took aim and fired from the ground. The opposing troops were completely annihilated by Su Bai in less than 5 minutes. Experience gained, 112. Experience gained, 112. Experience gained, 131. This guy's soldiers contributed a significant amount of experience. However, he took the opportunity to retreat to a distant hill. He cut off one of his fingers and began chanting continuously. Suddenly, a plume of black smoke rose up. The ground nearby suddenly collapsed, and countless malevolent spirits surged forth, blocking Su Bai's path. A slight smirk appeared on Su Bai's lips. Was this guy here to deliver experience points to him? He aimed at the hill and opened fire. The soldiers raised their weapons in unison, unleashing a barrage of shots that kicked up a cloud of dust. The man clutched his chest and spat out a mouthful of blood, quickly hiding behind a rock. Meanwhile, Su Bai managed to obtain 2 bronze treasure chests and open them. Gold gained, 78. Gold gained, 85. At this moment, not only had his level increased significantly, but he had also amassed quite a bit of gold. It felt incredibly satisfying. He was about to meet the high-tech radars soon, and Su Bai felt a surge of excitement. Beep. Congratulations, host, for unlocking the achievement. Resource Tycoon. Gained 10,000 resource points. Choose to spend half of the resources to initiate a lottery. Would you like to draw? Su Bai was taken aback. A lottery? Such a good thing existed? Without hesitation, he immediately chose to draw. Drawing. In his mind, a wooden chest appeared in the open space in the base, marked with 3 question marks. Could this be the reward for drawing? This item is a mysterious chest. Click to select a unit to receive a mysterious gift. Note, it could be buildings from various factions, money, armored units, firepower upgrades, or armor enhancements. Su Bai felt a bit excited. He had once played a map called An Unfair Piece of Land, which featured an area for spawning chests. Opening the chest yielded various free random units or positive buffs. Although not as good as the heavy industry position for tanks, it always gave a sense of unboxing. Quite enjoyable. Thus, Su Bai controlled a mining vehicle in the sea of stones and drove it towards the mysterious chest. The next moment, a blue bus appeared beside the vehicle. What is this? So familiar. In the next instant, Su Bai was shocked. It was actually an allied base vehicle. Overjoyed. Absolutely ecstatic. Stunned, beyond measure. Without hesitation, Su Bai immediately chose to double-click to deploy. In the next moment, the allied base instantly manifested in Su Bai's sea of stones, occupying every bit of available space. Awesome. So exhilarating. The next lottery will be at 100,000 resource points. Commander, keep up the hard work. In the temporary command room, Li Yuanchao looked at the map. Report. The independent regiment has already dispatched 3 teams to attack the monsters that escaped from the instance. Currently, 1 team is engaged in battle with the Azura Demon Legion to the northeast. The second team is fighting the Azura Demon Legion to the southeast. The third team has not yet encountered the enemy in the southeast. Hearing this, Li Yuanchao became furious and slammed his pencil down onto the map table. What is the third team doing? The people are suffering losses. Are they afraid to fight? The soldier reporting swallowed hard. No. The third team said that the Azura demons there have been completely eliminated, but it wasn't them who did it. Not them. Then who did it? The third team brought over 2 young students. You can ask these 2. Li Yuanchao looked puzzled and called the 2 students over. As they entered the command room, they looked around curiously as if they had entered a grand garden for the first time. Wow, Brother Chao, this is really a command room for a real battle. Way cooler than what you described. Xiaohu, be quiet. This is a serious place, don't make jokes. Li Yuanchao looked at the 2 students. Explain yourselves. The 2 were Chun Chao and Wang Xiaohu, and they recounted how they, along with Su Bai, had fought against the Azura demons. They then mentioned encountering a mysterious car, and that Su Bai had gone after it. Wang Xiaohu and Chun Chao could only struggle against the opposing hero, facing a 2-to-1 disadvantage. With their units being cut down one by one by the enemy's katana, they were already at their wits' end. At that moment, a group of soldiers rushed over, each summoning their respective units to work together to defeat the Wind Demon. After hearing their story, Li Yuanchao frowned, skeptical of their claims. You couldn't even handle a Wind Demon hero. How could you deal with thousands of Azura demons? Are you trying to fool me? The 2 quickly shook their heads. Chun Chao replied earnestly. In fact, when we first encountered the Azura Demon Legion, it was Su Bai who used his units to annihilate them. Wang Xiaohu and I were just assisting. Su Bai? Li Yuanchao had no impression of this name. An old man beside him slapped his thigh. Su Bai? That name sounds familiar. Could he be the young man applying to the prestigious academy in the capital? Wang Xiaohu and Chun Chao were taken aback. We are from that academy. There's only one Su Bai in our grade, and he's our roommate. The old man laughed. No wonder that kid was fought over by the head of the Public Security Bureau back then. Turns out he really has some skills. Yuan Shao, hurry up and send a vehicle to let me into the instance. I want to see that young man. Please don't cause trouble, I beg you. Stop talking nonsense and hurry up and send the vehicles. Wang Xiaohu and Qin Xiao were stunned, wondering who this old man really was. Even the commander in front of them was taken aback. Qin Xiao swallowed hard and quietly asked, "Old man, who are you?" "Me? Hee. I'm Li Yuanshao's father, Li Yunlong." Chapter 52. One man slaughters thousands of ghosts. This kind of strength makes him a king among soldiers in the military district. What? The founding father and the legendary military god of the nation, General Li Yunlong. He actually knows Su Bai? Their conversation was surprisingly familiar. It's important to note that General Li Yunlong held significant power and his words carried weight. How could he possibly know Su Bai? The two of them became increasingly shocked. Wang Xiaohu's lips trembled as he whispered to Qin Xiao, "Brother Qiao, what's going on? How could General Yunlong know Su Bai? Don't tell me they met while playing chess in the park." Wang Xiaohu trusted Qin Xiao completely. Not only was he strong, but he was also knowledgeable about everything from astronomy to geography, and he knew military strategies and intelligence like the back of his hand. However, regarding this question, Qin Xiao also felt uncertain. Qin Xiao was so shocked that he couldn't swallow the saliva in his throat. How could this be possible? With a figure like General Yunlong. If he were to visit a park, it would likely be cleared out. How could Su Bai possibly know him? So what exactly is their relationship? What relationship? Qin Xiao finally managed to swallow and leaned closer to Wang Xiaohu, whispering, "I feel like Su Bai is just a pseudonym. He might very well be Li Yunlong's grandson." "What?" Wang Xiaohu exclaimed in shock. Before he could say more, Qin Xiao quickly covered his mouth. "Don't say it. Since Su Bai is using a pseudonym for school, he probably doesn't want this to get out. People of status like to keep a low profile. If we let this slip, it might be a leak of military secrets." After hearing Qin Xiao's explanation, Wang Xiaohu was already sweating profusely. Su Bai? This was too shocking. Before the two could recover from the shock, new reports came in. The commander detected a large response from the southwest, indicating the presence of a legion of evil spirits. Li Yunlong shouted, "We can't wait any longer. Get the battle gear." He straightened his back and led the way out of the command room. His vigorous demeanor shocked everyone present. An old hero is indeed an old hero. Even at his age, he dared to don armor and go into battle. The sudden wave of enemies also surprised Su Bai. The mobilized soldiers and armored tanks took defensive positions, constantly targeting the incoming legion of evil spirits. This time, without the cover of Wang Xiaohu and Qin Xiao, the aerial units posed a significant threat to their mobilized forces. Thus, Su Bai quickly produced 2 new tracked anti-aircraft vehicles in his heavy industry facility. The 3 anti-aircraft vehicles formed a defensive network in the sky, firing at the targets above. Shells, resembling coal balls, exploded in the air. The enemy forces fell like shooting stars. On the ground, the 10 Rhino tanks wreaked havoc, proving to be formidable weapons against the numerous, though slow, enemies. Smoke and dust continuously billowed from the enemy ranks, as the bodies of the demons were blown apart by shells, causing the tightly packed formation to become disordered. Additionally, mobilized troops took cover behind the Rhino tanks to shoot, and the enemy, numbering in the thousands, could not push Su Bai's line at all. What was even more gratifying was that the massive enemy presence generated a wealth of experience. The 5 Rhino tanks that had followed Su Bai from the beginning also smoothly leveled up to the rank of corporal, further enhancing their attributes. Rhino tank, strength, 12,030, agility, 255, defense, 4,010 health, 800,200 strength reached a staggering 150 points, defense increased by 50 points, and health terrifyingly hit 1,000 points. With such power, they could completely negate the damage from the earlier summoned demon forces. Moreover, after this experience, Su Bai's level also increased by 2 levels. Character level, LV17, strength, 391, agility, 241, defense, 16 health, 15510. Although the attribute improvements were modest, the level represented social status. Higher level individuals were generally perceived as stronger, garnering more respect and reverence from others. It could be said that those with higher levels were given considerable importance by the state, with specific welfare policies established for them. Upon reaching retirement age at 60, they would receive a significantly higher pension. On a distant hillside, the individual who had summoned the demon army gritted his teeth in frustration. How could this young man from the Dragon Kingdom still be alive? Because of him, the operation plan had been severely hindered. He had even taken several shots to the chest. Grinding his teeth, he swallowed a forbidden drug. Fortunately, only one of the 5 seals remained. The demon army could hold on for a while longer. He leaped down the slope, disappearing into the darkness. 30 minutes later, the demon army was completely annihilated. The experience gained from defeating so many monsters was exhilarating. The only disappointment for Su Bai was that the one who had summoned the demon army had escaped. They were just about to capture this guy when they prepared to regroup and return to the positions previously held by Wang Xiaohu and Qin Chao. In the distance of Tsungyun Ridge, a blood-red light shot into the sky, accompanied by a massive roar that pierced the clouds. Su Bai was taken aback. It turned out that the little troublemaker hadn't run away yet and was definitely causing chaos again. He immediately withdrew his troops, letting the terrifying robots scout ahead while he drove a defense vehicle toward that direction. Li Yunlong got out of the vehicle and arrived at the spot where Su Bai had fought against the Shura demon army. Numerous soldiers stood guard around the old general. The ground was scorched, with charred remnants and broken walls everywhere, indicating a fierce battle had taken place here. Li Yuanchao observed the situation and began to analyze it. His father, Li Yunlong, snorted coldly, his expression one of disdain. TCH, what fierce battle? Nonsense. Just take a look. There are only the corpses left by the Shura demon army, and not a single body from the opposing side. What does this indicate? It shows a one-sided crushing defeat. Li Yuanchao felt a surge of frustration. After all, he was a division commander. His father's temper had not changed even now. To be scolded in front of so many officers and soldiers was quite embarrassing. Fortunately, the soldiers began to follow General Li Yunlong's cues and looked around. Sure enough, the ground was littered with the corpses of the Shura demon army, but there was not a single body from their opposing force in sight. In an instant, all the soldiers felt as if they had fallen into an ice cave. A sense of chilling dread swept through their hearts with the autumn night's cold wind. If what General Yunlong said was true, then what kind of power could defeat thousands of Shura demons without sustaining any casualties? If it were the usual hunting parties formed by experienced teams in this instance, that could be acceptable. However, if it was indeed the work of Su Bai, as claimed by those two young students, then this young man had far surpassed the strength of an ordinary soldier. It could be said that he was at least at the level of a military king. Moreover, he might even receive an official rank in the army. However, this possibility was slim. No one could verify what those two students said, so everyone dismissed their claims, especially Li Yuanchao. He knew that the students from the prestigious academy in the metropolitan area indeed had the capability to annihilate such a large number of Shura demons. However, those students were rare talents. They certainly wouldn't sacrifice their sleep in the middle of the night for a minor instance like the Night of 100 Demons. After all, he understood that this school was preparing for its second international exchange competition with a prestigious school from another country. And all the top first-year students were surely training hard at the academy. It will never appear here just to gain experience. Commander, according to the report from the independent regiment, the Shura demon army at Tsungyun Ridge has been completely annihilated. We can withdraw our troops. Li Yuanchao breathed a sigh of relief, thankful that this disaster from the overflow dungeon did not cost the lives of the residents in the nearby villages. It was a night filled with tension, but no danger. Then let's withdraw our troops. Just as he issued the order, Li Yunlong frowned in dissatisfaction. What did you say? Withdraw? Withdraw my foot. That kid Su Bai who took down so many Shura demons is still unaccounted for. How can we withdraw? We must find this guy first so I can have a drink with him. Go, go, go. Everyone get out there and find him. Chapter 53. The boss appears. Shadow Ghost Path, a nightmare in close combat. Li Yunlong is at a loss. Dad, do you really believe it was all done by Su Bai alone? No matter how capable he is just an ordinary student. Even if we want to find him, it's not easy to do so at night. If more soldiers get lost, it would be quite unnecessary. Facing his father, Li Yuanchao truly had no temper left. Although Li Yunlong was still in a foul mood, he was a man who cherished his soldiers like his own children. Years ago, his guard, Wei Heshang, was killed by bandits after surrendering, and in a fit of rage, he defied military orders and wiped out the entire bandit camp. He was reprimanded for it, but that didn't change his character. So Li Yunlong sighed. Let us head back then. Notify the county in the morning to find all the missing people from tonight. The troops regrouped and prepared to withdraw. Soon, they returned to the entrance of the dungeon. All troops left the area, leaving only Li Yunlong, Li Yuanchao, and a few of his guards. At that moment, a loud roar echoed from the depths of Tsungyun Ridge, alerting everyone. Li Yunlong and Li Yuanchao exchanged glances and said in unison, "Return. Move towards the source of the sound. Hurry." The sound of gunfire erupted as the soldiers unleashed rounds from their AK-47s, and the roar of rhino tanks filled the air. The main target of these war machines was the location where the bloodshed had just occurred. When Su Bai arrived there, the ground was already heaving several meters high. Trees had been uprooted, and several desiccated giant hands burst forth from the ground, as if a demon was about to emerge from the depths to wreak havoc upon the world. In front of this monster stood the man who had fled earlier, a wicked smile on his face. People of Long Country, today, I will turn Tsungyun Ridge into a river of blood. All who live here must die, for the vengeance of the heroes from decades ago. Who are you really? What is your purpose? Su Bai demanded. You want to have the chance to know, die? With that harsh remark, the man turned and fled. Subai did not hold back. Controlling his terrifying robot, he charged forward at high speed. The robot's sharp limbs suddenly leaped into action, taking down one of the opponent's arms. Great job. Now let's take out another leg. Subai, seeing his advantage, quickly issued a new command. However, this time, the opponent seemed to have held back. Dozens of ghostly figures suddenly surged out from the opponent's chest, surrounding his terrifying robot. They raised their weapons to strike. Although the terrifying robot moved quickly and had high attack power, especially capable of inflicting massive damage on armored units and personnel, its weaknesses were also apparent. It had very low defense and was pitifully low on health. No matter how many enemies the robot defeated, it couldn't level up. Thus, after being ambushed, Subai's robot, valued at 500 resources, was instantly blown to pieces. Subai wanted to pursue, but unfortunately, a giant monster had already emerged from the ground, revealing a head covered in faces. Its body was a sickly green and emaciated. With a sudden swing of its arm, it grabbed two nearby soldiers and brought them before its face, allowing its multitude of faces to feast on the soldiers' bodies. Not only that, but the slain soldiers suddenly revived and split into two identical figures, charging towards Subai's troops. Subai quickly ordered his troops to retreat, using his medals to assess the enemy's situation. Shadow Ghost, Boss. Level, LV27, Strength, 200, Agility, 20, Defense, 55, Health, 120,000. Special skill, for every enemy killed, Shadow Ghost can resurrect them along with their shadow, creating two allied units. This was the first time Subai encountered such a powerful boss. Even the previous Blue Ice Demon didn't have such high strength and level, especially with that 120,000 health, which was on a whole different level. At this moment, Subai understood the purpose of that little day, to break the seal and summon this Shadow Ghost, allowing it to rampage through the dungeon and kill the villagers living near Tsangyun Ridge. How malicious was its intent? Subai immediately ordered his troops to spread out to avoid being attacked. The forces dispersed and opened fire on the Shadow Ghost, especially while retreating and setting up advantageous terrain. This halted their fire for a moment. During this brief interval, Li Yunlong and Li Yuanchao arrived, looking at the giant monster. Li Yuanchao quickly commanded several of his guards to summon troops to join the battle. With a wave of his hand, 500 elite soldiers appeared before him. These elite soldiers, holding long spears, were sculpted entirely from stone, like an army of stone warriors. They were incredibly hard. Advance. Eliminate the enemy in front of us. These 500 well-trained elite soldiers marched with thunderous footsteps towards the Shadow Ghost path. Don't go forward. Li Yunlong immediately pressed his hand on his son Li Yuanchao's shoulder, stopping him from unleashing the elite soldiers against the Shadow Ghost path. Dad, what are you doing? This guy, I fought him back when I was at Tsangyun Ridge. He was the strongest force summoned by Yamamoto at that time. When our troops charged in, he killed one, and two would come back to retaliate. If you send in any number of soldiers now, they'll just double their counterattack. Li Yuanchao was taken aback by his father's words. He had never heard his father speak like this before. However, he knew well that his father was seasoned and experienced, so he quickly recalled his elite soldiers. Then how did you defeat him back then? Li Yuanchao hurriedly asked for a solution. After all, his father had defeated the enemy once before. Even if this monster had revived, they could still take it down again. Li Yunlong shook his head. No. The last time we defeated this monster was because we had a guy named Zhuzi in our independent regiment. He could summon a siege catapult called the Italian Cannon. We managed to grind this guy down with Zhuzi's Italian Cannon. But by that time, we had already noticed strange occurrences in the area, which could lead to a dungeon-like situation. So, the remaining members set up 5 seals at Tsangyun Ridge to trap this monster. Hearing this from his father, Li Yuanchao couldn't help but shake his head in frustration. Damn it. We came in such a hurry that I didn't bring the artillery battalion with me. That battalion is filled with siege-level troops, which would be extremely effective against this monster. But according to what my dad said, even if I sent all my elite soldiers in, plus his angry Vajra, it would probably be very difficult to defeat the Shadow Ghost Path. Chapter 54. Defeat the Shadow Ghost Path Boss. Crazy Gold Explosion. Rapid leveling up. The drop rate is simply buzzing. What should I do? I can't just retreat and wait for artillery support. In the time spent waiting, the Shadow Ghost Path would probably have already escaped the dungeon and harmed the surrounding villagers. At this moment of dilemma, General Li Yunlong said solemnly, Zhang Dabiao, you stay with me. Zhou Xian, Li Yuanchao, you hurry back and bring the artillery battalion over. Zhang Dabiao, as an old guard who had always followed General Li Yunlong, had been through life and death with him. At this moment, a spirit of fearlessness and indifference to life and death was displayed. Similarly, with a flash on his chest, over 100 soldiers were summoned. Captain Li, I didn't expect that at our age, we could still fire another shot. Well said. This monster is a result of our independent regiment not cleaning up thoroughly back then. And today it's time for him to clean up the mess. Li Yuanchao was so anxious he was almost sweating. Uncle Zhang, my dad is stubborn. Why are you the same? If something happens to you too, how can I take responsibility? Just stop causing trouble. These two lively characters, at their age, how could they let themselves get into trouble as juniors? If this unfilial behavior were to spread, it would lead to disciplinary action in the army. Li Yunlong's old face grimaced. You brat, don't try to persuade me. Hurry up and get people. I can't just watch this guy leave the instance and endanger the safety of the people. Li Yuanchao was exasperated. His father's